You wake up in a foreign country. Your husband is gone. So is your passport. The note he left says he needs space, but the needle marks on your arm tell a different story. This is what happens when 12 years of marriage collapse in a single night. When the man sleeping beside you was actually your warden, and when "I love you" was just another lie in a language you never learned to translate. I'm about to tell you how Allara Vance survived Seoul, how she learned that some cages don't have bars, they have wedding rings. Drop a comment with your city name so I can see how far this story travels. Hit that like button, and let me show you what happens when a good woman finally stops being good. The silence wakes her first. Not sound, silence, the kind that presses against eardrums like deep water, that makes the chest tighten before the brain fully engages. Allara Vance opens her eyes to darkness cut by thin blades of neon bleeding through blackout curtains, and for 3 long seconds she doesn't remember where she is. Seoul. Hotel suite. Anniversary trip. The details flood back with the nausea. She sits up too fast. The room tilts. Her mouth tastes like copper and something chemical she can't name, and when she touches her face, her fingers come away slick with cold sweat. The sheets beneath her are damp. Her hair is plastered to her neck. Adrian? Her voice cracks on his name. No answer. She says it again, louder, and the word just hangs there in the dark like something dead. The bathroom light is off. The sitting area, empty. She reaches across the bed and finds his side cold, the pillow still holding its manufactured shape like he was never there at all. That's when she sees the note. White paper on the nightstand, creased once down the middle. Her name written across the front in Adrian's careful architect's hand. She stares at it for a long time before picking it up, and her fingers are shaking so badly the paper rustles. Ara, I need space. I know how this looks, but trust me. This is the only way to save us. I'll call when I can. Don't try to follow. She reads it 3 times. 4. The words don't change. They just sit there on the page, polite and final, like a business email terminating a contract. Don't try to follow. She stands. The floor lurches. She grabs the nightstand to steady herself, and her elbow knocks over a water glass that wasn't there when they went to bed. It hits the carpet without breaking, and she stares down at it, while her brain tries to process what her body already knows. The water. He puts something in the water. Her knees start to give out, but she locks them, forces herself upright through sheer will, crosses to the bathroom on legs that feel borrowed, flips the light switch, and the fluorescent glare makes her skull throb. She grips the edge of the sink and stares at a reflection, pale face, dark circles, pupils still slightly dilated. And there on her left forearm, just below the crease of her elbow, a small purple bruise ringed with red. Injection site. She runs the cold water until her hands stop shaking. Splashes her face. The nausea comes in waves, but she breathes through it, counts backwards from 10 like her therapist taught her during the panic attacks that started 2 years into the marriage and never really stopped. 10, 9, 8. The facts line up whether she wants them to or not. Adrian drugged her. Adrian left. Adrian took her passport. She checks the hotel safe and finds it empty except for her wedding ring, which sits there like an accusation she's not ready to face. Her phone is still on the nightstand, but when she picks it up, she sees 17 missed calls from a number she doesn't recognize, all between 3 and 4 a.m. She calls Adrian, straight to voicemail. She calls again, same thing. Pick up, she says to the empty room. Pick up, pick up, pick up. But he doesn't. And somewhere beneath the panic, beneath the sharp animal fear of being alone in a city where she doesn't speak the language, a different feeling starts to crystallize. Something colder. She's been stupid. The realization doesn't arrive gently. It kicks down the door of her brain and stands there dripping contempt. 12 years. 12 years of explaining away the small cruelties, the cutting remarks disguised as jokes, the way he'd squeeze her hand too tight in public when she said the wrong thing. 12 years of telling herself this was what marriage looked like after the honeymoon ended, that all couples fought like this, that she was too sensitive, too needy, too much. She walks back to the bed and picks up the note again, studies it under the lamp. This is the only way to save us. There is no us, she says out loud, and hearing the words in her own voice makes them real. The clock on the nightstand reads 4:47 a.m. Outside the window, Seoul glows like a circuit board. Millions of lights arranged in patterns she'll never understand, in a country she never wanted to visit in the first place. Adrienne chose Seoul. Adrienne booked the flights, the hotel, planned the entire anniversary trip down to the restaurant reservations. She just came along because that's what she always did. Followed, agreed, smiled. Not anymore. She opens her suitcase and finds most of her clothes still there, though her jewelry case is gone. Her laptop, gone. The emergency credit card she kept hidden in a tampon box, gone. He'd searched through everything while she was unconscious, took anything valuable, left her with enough to look like abandonment rather than theft. Her hands curl into fists. In the bathroom, she finds her makeup bag untouched and dumps it across the counter, digs through lipsticks and compacts until her fingers close around the thing she's looking for, a small USB drive taped inside an empty foundation case. Her insurance policy. The one thing she kept from Adrian during the last fight, when he'd accused her of hiding money, and she'd realized for the first time that her husband might actually be capable of hurting her. Bank statements, email threads, screenshots of text messages, everything she collected over the past 6 months when the fights got worse and the silences got longer and she started to suspect that something in their marriage had rotted all the way through. She plugs the drive into her phone and starts scrolling through files. Most of it she's already seen. Adrian's angry emails about her spending, her apologetic responses, the joint account statements showing steady withdrawals to accounts she didn't recognize. But there at the bottom, a folder she doesn't remember saving. She opens it. The first document is a scanned passport. Not hers, not Adrian's. A man she doesn't recognize, 40s-ish, European features, name listed as Marcus Delaney. The second document is a bank statement from Singapore showing a balance of $4 million. The third is an email thread between Adrian and someone named Park discussing transfer protocols and Manila contingencies. She reads through all of it twice. Her hands have stopped shaking. Her mind has gone very quiet and very sharp. Adrian Cross is not an architect. Or he is, but that's not all he is. The realization should terrify her. Instead, it just makes her angry. The kind of anger that starts deep in the gut and spreads like poison. The kind that makes women do dangerous things. She gets dressed, jeans, black shirt, sneakers, pulls her hair back, takes the USB drive and shoves it deep in her front pocket where she can feel it against her hip like a promise. She counts the cash in her wallet, $800 in various currencies, enough for maybe a week if she's careful. The hotel phone rings. She stares at it for 3 long seconds before picking up. Mrs. Cross? The voice is male, Korean accent, professionally polite. This is the front desk. We've received a message for you. From who? The gentleman didn't leave a name. He said to tell you that your husband checked out early and settled the bill through tomorrow. He also said, the clerk pauses. He said you should stay in your room until you receive further instructions. The line goes dead. Ara sets the phone down very carefully. Her heart is hammering, but her hands are steady. She walks to the window and parts the curtain just enough to see down into the street 17 floors below. Early morning traffic. Delivery trucks. And there on the corner opposite the hotel entrance, a black sedan with tinted windows and the engine running. Someone is watching. She backs away from the window and grabs her jacket, checks the room safe one more time and finds something she missed before. A burner phone, cheap flip model, turned off. She powers it on and there's a single text message waiting. Don't trust Park. Don't trust the FBI. Find Minjun. A V. The initials make her stop breathing. A V. Allara Vance. But she didn't send this message, which means someone else is using her name. Someone who knows she's in trouble. Someone who knew she'd look in the safe. She deletes the message and pockets the phone. Grabs the USB drive. Leaves everything else. The suitcase, the note, the wedding ring sitting in the safe like evidence in a case she hasn't been charged with yet. The hallway outside is empty. Soft lighting, expensive carpet, the kind of silence money buys. She takes the stairs instead of the elevator, descending 17 flights with her pulse in her throat and her mind running calculations she didn't know she was capable of making. Exit through the kitchen, find a cab, get to the embassy. Simple plan, probably won't work. The stairwell opens into a service corridor that smells like industrial cleaner and old grease. She follows it toward what she hopes is the loading area and emerges into a concrete bay where delivery trucks are starting their morning rounds. Nobody stops her. Nobody even looks at her. She's just another Western woman in expensive jeans, probably hungover, probably lost. The street behind the hotel is narrow and dark and lined with shuttered shops. She walks fast, but not too fast, keeping her head down. And after 3 blocks, she finally lets herself look back. No black sedan, no followers she can spot. But the feeling doesn't go away. The sense of being watched by something she can't see. At the corner, she finds a taxi. The driver doesn't speak English, but she shows him the embassy address pulled up on her phone, and he nods. They pull into traffic, and Seoul unfolds around her in the gray pre-dawn light. Endless high-rises, neon signs and scripts she can't read, early commuters hunched against the cold. She should feel relieved, safe. She's escaped. But escape is the wrong word, she realizes, because she doesn't actually know what she escaped from. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. She stares at it for a long time before answering. Allara Vance? A woman's voice, American accent, precise articulation. Who is this? Special Agent Caroline Webb, FBI. We need to talk about your husband. Ara closes her eyes. Of course. Of course the FBI knows, which means Adrian's been talking, which means whatever he's involved in, she's probably already implicated. I'm on my way to the embassy, she says. Don't. Webb's voice sharpens. The embassy is being watched. Your husband has placed you in an extremely dangerous position, Mrs. Cross, and if you want to survive the next 48 hours, you need to listen very carefully. My husband drugged me and stole my passport. I know. We have surveillance footage from the hotel. We also have evidence that you're listed as a signatory on several offshore accounts currently under federal investigation for money laundering. The words hit like a physical blow. That's not... I never sus... I know you didn't, but on paper you're a co-conspirator, which means the people your husband stole from are looking for you, and they don't care whether you're innocent. The taxi turns onto a wider street. Morning light is starting to break over the city, turning the glass towers gold. Otto watches it all slide past and tries to remember how to breathe. What do you want? She finally asks. I want you to tell me where Adrian is hiding the money, and I want you to testify. I don't know where he is. But you know something, otherwise he wouldn't have left you alive. The silence that follows is very long. There's a car following you, Webb says quietly. Black Hyundai, 3 cars back. See it? Ara turns just enough to catch the reflection in the taxi's side mirror. Black sedan, tinted windows. Tell your driver to take you to Dongdaemun Design Plaza. There's a coffee shop in the lower level. I'll meet you there in 30 minutes. And if I don't come? Then the men in that Hyundai get to you first. And Mrs. Cross? Webb's voice drops. They don't want to ask questions. They want leverage. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Ada understands. She understands perfectly. 30 minutes, she says, and ends the call. She leans forward and shows the driver a new address. He nods and merges into the faster lane. The black Hyundai follows. But now that she knows it's there, she can track it, staying close, but not too close. Professional surveillance, the kind that comes with training and resources. Her phone buzzes again. Text message from the burner. Webb is using you. Minjun can help. 127 Itaewon Row. Ask for the Rose Room. Password, Ouroboros. She stares at the message until her eyes burn. 2 different people telling her 2 different things, both claiming they want to help, both probably lying. The taxi pulls up outside Dongdaemun Design Plaza, a massive silver structure that looks like a spaceship crash-landed in the middle of Seoul. She pays the driver and walks inside, descending into the lower level where early morning shoppers are already browsing. The coffee shop Webb mentioned sits in the corner, small and anonymous. She doesn't go in. Instead, she walks through the plaza, out another exit, and catches a different taxi. Shows the driver the Itaewon address. He looks at her strangely but doesn't argue. Maybe Webb is telling the truth. Maybe the FBI can protect her. But Adrian left her that message in the safe for a reason. And if there's one thing Ara has learned in 12 years of marriage, it's that Adrian Cross never does anything without a plan. The question is whether his plan includes her surviving. The taxi climbs into Itaewon, a neighborhood that feels different from the rest of Seoul, more international, slightly dangerous around the edges. The kind of place where people go to disappear. They stop outside a building with no signage, just a red door and a brass number plate. You sure? The driver asks in broken English. Ara looks at the building, looks at her phone, thinks about Agent Webb waiting in that coffee shop, thinks about the black Hyundai, thinks about Adrian somewhere out there with her passport and $4 million and a new identity already prepared, thinks about 12 years spent being someone's passenger. I'm sure, she says, and gets out. The red door is locked. She presses the buzzer. A camera lens above the frame swivels to focus on her face. Password? A man's voice, Korean accent. Her mouth is dry. Ouroboros? The lock clicks. She pushes the door open and steps inside, leaving the morning light behind. The hallway beyond is dark and smells like expensive cologne and something else. Smoke, maybe, or incense. Her footsteps echo on marble. At the end of the hall, another door, this one already open. A man stands silhouetted against soft amber lighting. Tall, lean, probably mid-30s. Dark suit, darker eyes. Mrs. Cross? He says. Not a question. You're early. We weren't expecting you until noon. Who the hell are you? Kang Min-jun. He steps aside and gestures into the room beyond. And you're going to want to sit down for this conversation. The Rose Room turns out to be exactly what it sounds like. A private lounge decorated in shades of burgundy and black. Expensive furniture. No windows. 3 other men sit in leather chairs, all of them turning to study her as she enters. None of them smile. Ara stays standing. How did you know I'd come here? Because your husband told us you would. Min-jun closes the door behind her, locks it. Before he disappeared, he sent us a very detailed message about what would happen in Seoul. He predicted every move you'd make, calling the embassy, running from the hotel, even Agent Webb's phone call. You're following a script he wrote 6 months ago. That's not possible, isn't it? Min-jun walks to a small bar and pours himself something clear in a crystal glass. Doesn't offer her anything. Adrian Cross has been working with us for 3 years, Mrs. Cross, laundering money through shell corporations, managing accounts, facilitating transfers. He was very good at it, until he got greedy. I don't believe you. You don't have to believe me, but you should look at this. He picks up a tablet from the coffee table and hands it to her. The screen shows a bank transaction dated 2 weeks ago. $4 million transferred from an account in Singapore to another in Manila. Both accounts list Allara Vance as the authorized signatory, her signature at the bottom of each document. I never signed these, she says quietly. I know, but a handwriting expert won't be able to tell. Your husband is very thorough. Min-jun sips his drink. He's been building your guilt alongside his exit strategy. Every account he opened, he put your name on it. Every transfer, your signature. If this goes to trial, you'll be looking at 20 years minimum. The tablet is heavy in her hands. She wants to throw it against the wall, but she just stands there, staring at her own forged signature, and feels something inside her chest finally break open. Not sadness, not fear. Rage. Pure, crystalline rage. What do you want from me? She asks. Min-jun smiles for the first time. It doesn't reach his eyes. I want you to help me find your husband, he says. And then I want you to help me destroy him. Outside, Seoul is waking up. Traffic building, sun climbing, millions of people starting their ordinary days. And inside the Rose Room, Allara Vance stops being a victim. She looks at Kang Min-jun and the men watching her from their leather chairs, at the locked door and the forged documents, and the trap her husband spent 3 years building around her life. She thinks about Agent Webb waiting in that coffee shop, about the black Hyundai, about the message in the safe and the needle mark on her arm. She thinks about 12 years of smiling through humiliation. Tell me what I have to do, she says, and Min-jun's smile widens just enough to show teeth. First, he says, you're going to call your husband back, and you're going to make him believe that you still love him. Can you do that? Ara looks down at her phone, at Adrian's number in her recent calls, at the man who drugged her and abandoned her and spent years forging her signature on documents that could put her in prison for the rest of her life. Yes, she says, I can do that. But her hands, when she reaches for the phone, are absolutely steady. And somewhere deep in the city, in a hotel room or an airport or another woman's bed, Adrian Cross has no idea what he's just set in motion. Okay. The phone feels like a live grenade in her hand. Aura stares at Adrian's contact photo, his face caught mid-laugh at some dinner party she can't remember, his eyes crinkled at the corners the way they always did when he wanted people to think he was happy. That version of him feels like a stranger now. Maybe he always was. You don't have to call him right now, Minjun says from across the room. He's leaning against the bar with that same calculating stillness, watching her the way a scientist watches an experiment. We can wait until you're ready. I'm ready. But her thumb hovers over the call button and won't press down. One of the other men in the room, older, silver-haired, expensive watch, clears his throat. She's hesitating. That's a problem. She's thinking, Minjun corrects without looking at him. Let her think. Ada forces herself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The technique her therapist taught her back when panic attacks were a weekly occurrence, and Adrian would stand in the doorway of the bathroom, watching her hyperventilate, his face carefully arranged into concern while his eyes stayed flat and cold. She presses call. It rings 4 times. 5. She's about to hang up when the line connects and there's a pause, just breath on the other end, someone listening but not speaking. Adrian? Her voice comes out smaller than she intended. Ara. He sounds tired, relieved, like she's the one who abandoned him instead of the other way around. Jesus Christ, where are you? I've been calling. You left me. The words scrape coming out. You drugged me and you left me and you took my... Oh, I know how it looks. But baby, listen to me. Don't call me that. Silence. She can hear him recalibrating, adjusting his strategy in real time the way he always did during arguments, finding the angle that would make her doubt herself. You're angry, he says finally. You have every right to be. But Ara, I need you to understand that I was trying to protect you. There are people in Seoul who... The FBI called me. The silence this time is longer, heavier. What did you tell them? His voice has gone very quiet. Nothing. I didn't know what to tell them. She forces herself to soften her tone, to inject the uncertainty he'll be listening for. Adrian, I'm scared. I don't understand what's happening. The hotel, the accounts, Agent Webb said there are men following me and I need you to tell me this isn't real. Tell me you're coming back. Minjun is watching her with something that might be approval. The silver-haired man looks skeptical. Where are you right now? Adrian asks. A taxi, driving around. I didn't know where else to go. Okay, that's good. Listen to me very carefully. Do not talk to the FBI. Do not go to the embassy. Those people can't help you. Then who can? Another pause. She can almost hear the calculations running behind his skull. There's a man in Seoul, he says slowly. His name is Kang Min-jun. He runs a private club in Itaewon. If you can find him, he might be able to help get you out of the country. Ada closes her eyes. Bingo. How do I find him? I'll text you the address, but Ada... His voice drops. Don't trust him. Don't trust anyone there. Just tell them you want safe passage to Tokyo and that you'll pay whatever they ask. Use the emergency account, the one I set up in your name. The emergency account. The one with her forged signature all over it. Adrian, I don't have access to... You do. I made sure of it before I left. Check your email. Password is our anniversary. He takes a breath, and when he speaks again, his voice has gone soft, vulnerable, the tone he used to use after the worst fights when he needed her to forgive him. I'm sorry I had to do this. I'm so sorry. But once you get to Tokyo, I'll meet you there. We can fix this. I promise. The lie is so smooth, she almost believes it herself. I love you, she says, and tastes blood where she's bitten the inside of her cheek. I love you too. Stay safe. The line goes dead. Ada lowers the phone and realizes her hands are shaking again. Not from fear this time. From the effort of keeping her voice steady while every cell in her body screamed to tell him exactly what she thought of his promises. Well? The silver-haired man leans forward. Did he buy it? He sent me here, Ada says. She looks at Minjun. He told me to find you. Said you could get me to Tokyo. Minjun's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Did he? He also told me not to trust you. Smart man. Minjin sets down his glass and straightens. Unfortunately for him, you've already made your choice, haven't you, Mrs. Cross? It's not really a question. Ara stands. Her legs feel steadier now, her mind sharp and cold. He mentioned an emergency account, said I have access. You do. We made sure of it. Minjin walks to a laptop on the side table and opens it. Your husband set up 17 accounts in your name over the past 3 years. Most of them are empty shells designed to muddy the trail, but 3 of them contain significant capital, approximately $8 million combined. The number doesn't even sound real. He's been stealing, Ada says, aggressively. From us, from our partners, from the people who trusted him to move their money safely. Minjin turns the laptop to face her. This is the main account, Singapore Bank, numbered access. He thinks you don't know about it. But he also left you the credentials in case of emergency, his insurance policy. If something went wrong, you'd take the fall, but you'd also have the means to run. Except I wouldn't know to run because I didn't know any of this existed. Exactly. You'd access the account, the FBI would track the transaction, and suddenly you'd be a fugitive with $8 million in offshore accounts. Meanwhile, Adrian walks away clean with new identification and the rest of the money hidden somewhere we can't trace. Ada stares at the screen, at her name listed as the primary account holder, at the balance that could buy a dozen different lives. So what do? We use you as bait. Minjin closes the laptop. Your husband thinks he's several moves ahead. He thinks you'll run to Tokyo, access this account, and walk straight into federal custody. What he doesn't know is that we've been tracking his communications for 6 weeks. We know about Manila. We know about the extraction team. We know about Ouroboros International. The name lands like a stone in still water. What's Ouroboros? Private Intelligence Syndicate. They specialize in making people disappear, usually people with something to hide and enough money to pay for discretion. Your husband hired them 3 months ago to facilitate his exit from Asia. The plan was Singapore, then Manila, then Johannesburg. By the time anyone figured out he was gone, he'd have 3 new passports and a completely sanitized background. But something went wrong. We found out. And we made it very clear that if Adrian Cross left Korea with our money, we'd find him eventually. Which is why he panicked, which is why he drugged you and ran. Minjin's eyes are cold. He's trapped between us and the FBI. The only leverage he has left is you. The silver-haired man stands. This is taking too long. If she's serious about helping, put her to work. If not, we're wasting time. Park Ji-hoon, Minjun says by way of introduction. My employer. He prefers the direct approach. Park looks at Ara like she's a column of numbers that doesn't add up. Can you act, Mrs. Cross? Can you lie to your husband's face and make him believe you're still the woman he married? I've been doing it for 12 years. Something that might be respect flickers across Park's face. Then here's what happens. You access the Singapore account. You transfer $1 million to a Tokyo holding company. We'll provide the details. You document everything. Then you call Adrian and tell him you're scared, you found the money, and you need him to meet you in Tokyo to explain what's happening. He won't come. He'll know it's a trap. He will come, Minjun says quietly. Because that $1 million, it's from an account he didn't know you had access to. He's going to panic. He's going to wonder what else you found. And he's going to need to know how much you actually know before he disappears forever. Otto thinks about Adrian in some anonymous hotel room, checking his phone, seeing the transaction alert, seeing her name, realizing his perfect plan has sprung a leak. What happens when he shows up in Tokyo? We extract what he stole. We recover our capital. And then, Minjun pauses. Then we make sure he understands what happens to people who steal from Park Ji-hoon. The implication hangs in the air like smoke. You're going to kill him. That depends entirely on how cooperative he is. Park buttons his suit jacket. But you don't need to worry about that part, Mrs. Cross. You just need to play your role. Can you do that? Ara looks at the 3 men watching her, at the locked door, at the laptop with her name and $8 million in stolen money. She thinks about the needle mark on her arm, about waking up alone, about 12 years of measuring her words and her clothes and her opinions to fit inside the shape Adrian needed her to be. Yes, she says. I can do that. But her voice sounds like it belongs to someone else. The next 6 hours blur together in fragments. Park leaves first, taking his cold assessment and his expensive suit with him. The other men filter out until it's just Ara and Minjun in the Rose Room, and he walks her through the plan with the kind of meticulous detail that makes her understand why Adrian worked with these people. They don't make mistakes. They don't leave witnesses. They don't trust anyone, including her. "You'll stay here," Minjun says. He's showing her to a room upstairs, clean, modern, no windows. A guest room or a cell, depending on how you look at it. "We have people watching the hotel, the embassy, all the airports. If you run, we'll know within minutes." "I'm not going to run." Everyone says that. He hands her a new phone, Korean model, pre-programmed with a single contact. "You need something, you call that number. Don't call anyone else. Don't access your old email. Don't post on social media. As far as the world is concerned, Allara Vance disappeared in Seoul last night." She takes the phone. "What if Agent Webb calls again?" "Let it go to voicemail. The FBI is a problem we'll deal with separately." He moves to leave, then stops in the doorway. "Your husband isn't a good man, Mrs. Cross. But you already knew that, didn't you?" Ara sits on the edge of the bed. "How long have you known what he was doing?" 6 months. We suspected earlier, but we didn't have proof until one of our accountants noticed discrepancies in the Singapore transfers. Small at first, then larger. By the time we brought him in to question him, he'd already started planning his exit. Minjun leans against the door frame. "He showed us your photos. Told us about your anniversary trip. Said his wife didn't know anything about the business side of his life. We believed him. Everyone did. Did you love him?" The question catches her off guard. Why does that matter? It doesn't. I'm just curious what kind of woman stays married to a man like that for 12 years. Ara looks at her hands, at the pale line on her ring finger where her wedding band used to sit. The kind who doesn't realize she's in a cage until someone locks the door. Minjun studies her for a long moment. Then he nods once and leaves, pulling the door shut behind him. She hears the lock click. She sits alone in the windowless room and tries to remember who she was before she became Mrs. Cross. Before the wedding, before the engagement, before the night she met Adrian at some gallery opening in Manhattan and thought he was charming instead of dangerous. That version of herself feels impossibly distant now. A girl who believed in love and promises and the idea that marriage meant partnership instead of ownership. Her phone buzzes. The new one, not her old phone, which sits dead and silent on the nightstand. Message from Minjun. Access the account now. Transfer the funds. Then sleep. Tomorrow we move. She opens the laptop they left her, logs into the Singapore bank using the credentials Adrian hid in her email. The account loads and there it is, $8 million, just sitting there like it's nothing. Like it's normal for people to have this kind of money in accounts they don't even know exist. She follows Minjun's instructions. Transfers $1 million to the Tokyo Holding Company. Documents everything with screenshots, transaction numbers, timestamps. Sends it all to Minjun's secure email. Then she sits back and waits for Adrian to notice. It takes 17 minutes. Her old phone lights up with an incoming call. Adrian's number. She lets it ring through to voicemail. He calls again. Again. On the 4th attempt, she answers. "What the fuck did you do?" His voice is raw, panicked, the smooth operator routine completely gone. "I found the account, the one you told me about. The emergency account had 200,000. What the fuck did you do, Ara?" "I looked at the transaction history. I saw all the accounts. I saw..." She lets her voice crack. "Jesus Christ, Adrian, what have you done? There's millions of dollars. There's companies I've never heard of. There's my name on everything. Did you take any of it?" He's trying to sound calm, but she can hear the terror underneath. "Did you transfer anything?" "I moved some to Tokyo. You said we'd meet in Tokyo. I thought I was supposed to..." "How much?" $1 million. Maybe more. I wasn't thinking clearly." The silence on the other end is absolute. "Where did you send it?" His voice has gone very flat. "A holding company. It was in your saved transfers. I thought you wanted me to..." "What was the company name?" She reads it off the screen, hears him exhale sharply. "Ara, listen to me very carefully. You just sent $1 million to Park Ji-hun. Do you understand what that means?" "Who's Park Ji-hun?" "The man who's going to kill both of us if we don't fix this right now." He's moving. She can hear it. Footsteps, doors opening, the sound of a car starting. Where are you? Tell me exactly where you are. The club. The one you sent me to. Itaewon. Are you alone? She looks at the locked door. Yes. Bullshit. You're with them, aren't you? They have you. His voice rises. Jesus fucking Christ, Ara. What did you tell them? Nothing. I needed help and you weren't here and they're using you. Everything they've told you is a lie. I didn't steal from them. They stole from me. They're trying to... He stops, takes a breath. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. There's a car downstairs, black Mercedes, license plate 32J4858. The driver's name is Chen. He works for Ouroboros. He'll get you out of the building and to the airport. I'll meet you in Hong Kong. Adrian, I can't just... You can. You have to. Because if you stay there, Park is going to use you to get to me. And when he's done, he's going to kill you just for knowing too much. Do you understand? You're not safe there. The worst part is, he almost sounds like he means it. How do I know you're not the one lying? Because I'm your husband. Because we made promises. Because... His voice breaks just enough to sound real. Because I love you, and I'm trying to save your life. Ara closes her eyes, thinks about Minjun and Park and the locked door, thinks about Agent Webb and the FBI and federal custody, thinks about Adrian and 12 years of manipulation and the needle mark still purple on her arm. I need time to think. We don't have time. They could be listening right now. Ara, please. She hangs up. The phone immediately starts ringing again, but she powers it off. Sits in the silence of the windowless room and feels the walls of the trap closing from every direction. Someone knocks on the door. Mrs. Cross? Minjun's voice. We need to talk. She opens the door. He's standing in the hallway with two other men she hasn't seen before, and his face has gone carefully neutral. Your husband just called our negotiator, he says. He wants to make a deal. The meeting happens in a different room, bigger, colder, with floor-to-ceiling windows that look out over Seoul's nighttime sprawl. Park is already there, sitting at a glass conference table with his hands folded like a man about to conduct a performance review. Sit, he says without looking at her. Ara sits. Minjun takes the chair beside her. The two new men station themselves by the door. Park slides a tablet across the table. Your husband sent this 30 minutes ago. The screen shows a video file. Ara presses play. Adrian's face fills the frame. He's in a hotel room somewhere, curtains drawn, face haggard. He looks directly into the camera. Park Ji-hoon, you want your money back? I'll give you your money back. But not until my wife is safe. Here's the deal. You release Ara to Ouroboros custody, get her on a flight to Hong Kong, and once I have confirmation she's out of Korea, I'll transfer the full amount back to your accounts. All of it. Every dollar I took. He pauses, runs a hand through his hair. But if anything happens to her, if she's hurt, if she disappears, if you try to use her against me, I'll burn everything. Every account, every shell company, every partner you have in Manila and Singapore and Tokyo. I'll send the entire financial trail to the FBI, to Korean prosecutors, to every law enforcement agency that wants to know how Park Ji-hoon really makes his money. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. The video ends. Park looks at Ara. What do you think? I think he's lying. Obviously he's lying. The question is which part? Park drums his fingers on the table. He won't transfer the money until you're safe. But he also won't meet you in Hong Kong because he knows we'll be waiting. So what's the real play? Minjun leans forward. He wants time. Once she's out of our custody, he'll disappear and we'll have no leverage. Then we don't release her. Then he goes to the FBI. Let him. The FBI has been trying to build a case against us for 3 years. They have nothing. Park stands and walks to the windows. No, the problem isn't the FBI. The problem is that Adrian Cross has figured out the one thing we can't ignore, that we need him more than he needs us. Ara's head is pounding. Why do you need him? Because $8 million is pocket change compared to what he really stole. Park turns. Your husband didn't just take money, Mrs. Cross. He took information. Client lists, transaction records, routing protocols, everything we need to move capital through Asia without attracting attention. That information is worth more than the money itself. And if it ends up in the wrong hands, it doesn't just hurt us. It collapses the entire network. The room goes very quiet. How much? Ara asks. How much did he really steal? Minjun and Park exchange a look. 40 million, Minjun says finally. Maybe more. Distributed across accounts we don't have access to, hidden in ways that will take months to unwind. The number is so large it stops meaning anything. Ara stands. Her legs feel unsteady, but she forces them to hold. So this isn't about money. It's about power. You took your power and you want it back. Correct? And you need me to get it. Also correct? She walks to the windows. Seoul glows beneath her like a living organism. Millions of lights, millions of people, all of them going about their lives while she stands here 17 stories up, trying to decide which liar to trust. What if I say no? She asks without turning around. What if I refuse to help you? The silence behind her is answer enough. Then you become a liability, Park says quietly. And we don't keep liabilities on the books. Ara looks at her reflection in the dark glass. At the woman staring back, pale, exhausted, trapped. My husband wants me released to Ouroboros. Yes. So release me. Minjun stands. That's not release me. Let them think they've won. I'll get on the plane, I'll go to Hong Kong, and I'll meet Adrian exactly where he wants me to. She turns. And then I'll call you and tell you where to find him. Park studies her for a long time. You're suggesting we trust you. No. I'm suggesting we both get what we want. You get Adrian and your money. I get to watch him realize that I'm not his victim anymore. And if you double-cross us, then you'll kill me. I understand the terms. Her voice is steady. But you're wrong about one thing. Adrian doesn't need me safe. He needs me isolated. Once I'm away from you, away from the FBI, away from anyone who might help me, he'll disappear and I'll take the fall for everything. That's the real plan. I'm not his insurance policy. I'm his scapegoat. The words taste like poison coming out, but she keeps her face blank. Park looks at Minjun. Something passes between them without words. Ouroboros extractions are one way, Minjun says. Once they have you, we can't track you. We can't protect you. I don't need protection. I need leverage. Ara pulls out her phone. Give me a number. Something I can call that Adrian won't know about. When I find out where he's hiding the money, I'll give you the location, but I want something in return. What? Immunity. Full legal immunity from everything Adrian did. You make the charges disappear. You get the FBI off my back. You give me enough money to start over somewhere he'll never find me. She pauses. And you make sure he knows exactly who gave him up. Park almost smiles. You want revenge. I want justice. There's a difference. Not to me. He nods once. Minjun, set it up. Contact Ouroboros. Tell them we're accepting Adrian's terms. He looks at Ara. You have 48 hours, Mrs. Cross. After that, the deal expires and you become expendable. Understood? Understood. Good. Then let's make your husband think he's won. The extraction happens at dawn. They take her to a private airfield outside Seoul in an unmarked van with blacked-out windows. Ara sits in the back with Minjun, her hands zip-tied in front of her. For show, he explains. Ouroboros will expect her to look like a prisoner being transferred. The man you're meeting is named Thomas Renner, Minjun says. Former CIA, now runs Asian operations for Ouroboros. He'll ask you questions. Don't lie to him, he's very good at detecting lies. But don't tell him anything useful either. Like what? Like the fact that you're working with us. Like the fact that we're tracking Adrian's communications. Like the fact that you're going to turn on your husband the moment you get the chance. He hands her a small device that looks like a USB stick. This is a panic beacon. If something goes wrong, if Adrian tries to hurt you, or if Ouroboros figures out you're not who you say you are, you activate it and we'll come get you. She takes the beacon. It's warm from his pocket. How? We have people in Hong Kong, Tokyo, Manila. Every city Adrian might run to, we have resources. He meets her eyes. But Mrs. Cross, if you use that beacon, your husband will know you betrayed him. There won't be any going back. There already isn't. The van stops. Minjun cuts the zip ties and opens the door. The airfield is small and private and absolutely silent except for the wind. A jet sits on the tarmac with its engines idling, sleek and white and completely anonymous. A man in a dark suit stands at the bottom of the stairs. Thomas Renner is exactly what she expected. Mid-50s, military posture, eyes that miss nothing. He watches Ara approach and doesn't offer his hand. "Mrs. Cross, I understand you've had a difficult few days." "That's one way to put it. Your husband is very concerned about your welfare. He's asked us to escort you to Hong Kong where you'll be reunited." His voice is professionally neutral. "Before we proceed, I need to make something clear. Once you board this aircraft, you're under Ouroboros protection. That means you follow our instructions without question. If you deviate from protocol, if you attempt to contact anyone outside our network, the arrangement terminates immediately. Are we clear?" "Crystal." He studies her face. "Your husband mentioned you might be resistant, that you might have been coerced or threatened by the people holding you." "I wasn't held, I was—" "It doesn't matter." He gestures toward the stairs. "What matters is that you're safe now, shall we?" Ara looks back at the van. At Minjun standing in the shadow of the open door, his face unreadable. Then she looks at the jet and the man waiting to take her to Hong Kong and whatever comes after. She climbs the stairs. The interior of the jet is luxury incarnate. Leather seats, polished wood, soft lighting. Empty except for her and Renner and a pilot she can see through the open cockpit door. No one to witness. No one to help. "Sit anywhere you like," Renner says. "Flight time is approximately 3 hours. There's food and water in the galley if you need it." She sits by the window, watches Seoul disappear beneath them as the jet lifts into morning light. Renner settles into the seat across from her. "Your husband will meet you at the airport. He's arranged secure transportation to a safe house where you can both stay while we finalize his extraction." "Where's he going?" "I can't disclose that, but you'll be taken care of, Mrs. Cross. You'll both be taken care of." She wants to believe him. Part of her. The part that spent 12 years believing Adrian, believing in the marriage, believing that love could survive anything, wants to believe that maybe this is real, that maybe Adrian really did panic and make bad choices, and now he's trying to fix it. But then she remembers the needle mark, the forged signatures, the $8 million in accounts bearing her name. And she knows that whatever Adrian has planned for Hong Kong, it doesn't end with them together. Her phone buzzes in her pocket. The new one from Minjun. She pulls it out carefully, angling it away from Renner. Single text message. "He's moving the money. Right now. Singapore to Manila. We're tracing it." She deletes the message and looks out the window at clouds and open sky. Somewhere below, Adrian is making his final moves. Transferring capital, covering tracks, preparing to disappear forever while his wife flies straight into whatever trap he's built for her. But what he doesn't know, what nobody knows except her, is that Ada stopped being his wife the moment she woke up alone in that hotel room. She's something else now, something harder, something that doesn't forgive. The jet levels off at 30,000 feet. Renner is reading something on his tablet, no longer paying attention to her. She reaches into her pocket and feels the small device Minjun gave her, the panic beacon. Her lifeline back to people who want to use her just as badly as Adrian does. 3 hours to Hong Kong. 48 hours to find out where Adrian hid $40 million. And after that, Allara Vance gets to decide who burns. She closes her eyes and feels the engines thrumming through the cabin floor, carrying her toward a city she's never been to, toward a husband who wants her dead, toward the exact moment where she'll finally have to choose between survival and revenge. And deep in her chest, beneath the fear and the exhaustion and the weight of everything that's happened, she feels something she hasn't felt in 12 years. Control. The jet cuts through morning sky like a blade, and Ara Cross, or whoever she's becoming, sits perfectly still and waits for her moment to strike. Hong Kong hits her like a wall of heat and humanity. The jet touches down at a private terminal 20 minutes outside the main airport, and the moment the cabin door opens, the humidity wraps around Ara's throat like a hand. She descends the stairs into air that tastes like jet fuel and ocean salt and something else. Rot, maybe? Or just the smell of a city built on top of itself until there's no room left to breathe. Renner is beside her, one hand barely touching her elbow in a gesture that could be courtesy or control depending on how you read it. "This way, Mrs. Cross." A black SUV waits on the tarmac, engine running, windows tinted so dark she can't see inside. The back door opens before they reach it, and Ara's heart kicks into overdrive because for one terrible second she thinks it's going to be Adrian sitting there waiting. But it's not. It's a woman. Late 30s, blonde, expensive suit, watching Ara with the kind of clinical interest a butcher might show a side of beef. Mrs. Cross, I'm Diana Chen. I'll be handling your arrangements while you're in Hong Kong. Her accent is British, clipped and precise. Mr. Renner, thank you for the delivery. We'll take it from here. Renner nods once and steps back. Just like that, Ara has been handed off to a new set of handlers. She climbs into the SUV and the door closes behind her with a sound like a coffin ceiling. Diana sits across from her in the rear-facing seat. Between them, a privacy screen separates them from the driver. Your husband is waiting at a property in Kowloon. It's secure, off-grid, and monitored. You'll stay there together until we finalize his extraction. Diana crosses her legs. I need to be clear about something, Mrs. Cross. Ouroboros is providing this service as a favor to your husband. We have no stake in your marriage, your happiness, or your future. Our only concern is ensuring that Adrian Cross fulfills his obligations to our other clients. Do you understand? What obligations? That's between him and us. Diana pulls out a tablet. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions. Answer honestly. If I think you're lying, this vehicle will take you directly to the nearest police station, and you can explain to Hong Kong authorities why you're traveling on a passport that's been flagged by Interpol. Ara's mouth goes dry. What? Your passport was reported stolen 3 days ago by your husband, which means technically you're in Hong Kong illegally. Ouroboros has temporarily suppressed that information, but if you become a problem, we'll unsuppress it very quickly. Diana smiles without warmth. So, questions. How much do you know about your husband's business activities? I know he laundered money. I know he stole from people in Seoul. I know... She stops. Recalibrates. I know he's been lying to me for years. Did Park Ji-hun or Kang Min-jun tell you anything about Adrian's other activities? Banking information, client names, extraction protocols? No, they just wanted him back. And you agreed to help them. It's not a question, but Ara answers anyway. Yes. Why? Because my husband drugged me and left me in a foreign country with no passport and no money, and I wanted him to pay for it. The words come out harder than she intended. Raw. Is that honest enough? Diana studies her for a long moment. You're angry. That's good. Angry people make predictable choices. She taps something on her tablet. Your husband thinks you're still in love with him, that you'll forgive him once he explains that everything he did was to protect you. Is he right? No. Are you sure? Because if you get to that safe house and your resolve weakens, if you decide that maybe he deserves a second chance, we need to know now. Ara leans forward. I watched him stick a needle in my arm while I was sleeping. I woke up alone with a note telling me to trust him. I spent 2 days thinking I was going insane while he drained bank accounts and forged my signature on documents that could put me in prison for 20 years. So no, Diana, my resolve is not going to weaken. Diana nods slowly. Good, because in approximately 15 minutes you're going to see him again, and he's going to try very hard to make you believe that he's the victim in all of this. He's going to cry. He's going to apologize. He's going to tell you that he panicked and made mistakes, but that he still loves you. She leans back. And you're going to let him believe that it's working. The SUV merges onto a highway cutting through the heart of Hong Kong. Skyscrapers rise on all sides like concrete cliffs, and below them the city churns cars and people and construction cranes and neon signs in languages Ara can't read. It's too much, too loud. She closes her eyes and focuses on breathing. What does Adrian owe you? She asks without opening her eyes. Information, specifically the location of certain financial instruments he was supposed to deliver to a client in Manila. He failed to deliver. The client is unhappy. Your husband has 48 hours to fix it, or the client will consider the contract terminated. And if the contract is terminated, then Adrian Cross becomes a liability instead of an asset, and Ouroboros doesn't maintain liabilities. Ara opens her eyes. You'll kill him. We'll discontinue our protection, which amounts to the same thing. Park Ji-hun has a very long reach, Mrs. Cross. Without us, your husband wouldn't last a week. The SUV exits the highway, and descends into a maze of narrow streets. The buildings here are older, closer together, the kind of neighborhood where tourists don't go and locals know better than to ask questions. They stop outside a high-rise apartment complex with darkened windows and a security gate that opens before they even approach. "Top floor," Diana says. "Apartment 47. Your husband is inside. I'll be in the lobby. You have 2 hours." 2 hours for what?
shot.
To convince him that you're on his side, to find out where he's hiding the money, to get him to trust you enough to tell you the truth. Diana's expression doesn't change. "If you fail, you'll both be on the next flight back to Seoul, without Uroboros protection. Do you understand the stakes?" Ara understands. She's understood since the moment she woke up in that hotel room. There are no good choices left, just degrees of survival. She gets out of the SUV and walks into the building alone. The elevator ride to the 47th floor takes a lifetime. Ara watches the numbers climb and feels her pulse climb with them. Thinks about the last time she saw Adrian standing in their hotel bathroom in Seoul, handing her a glass of water she was stupid enough to drink. Had he looked guilty? Had there been any hesitation in his eyes? She can't remember. And that's almost worse than the betrayal itself. The elevator opens. The hallway is silent and dim and smells like industrial cleaner. Apartment 47 sits at the end, door slightly ajar. She pushes it open. The apartment is small and utilitarian, basic furniture, no personal touches, the kind of place designed for people passing through. Adrian stands at the window with his back to her, silhouetted against the Hong Kong skyline. Ara. He turns. His face looks thinner than she remembers, shadows under his eyes, hair uncombed. He looks like a man who hasn't slept in days. "Jesus Christ, you're here! You're actually here!" He moves toward her, and she takes a step back. He stops. "Don't," she says quietly. I know you're angry. I know what this looks like." He runs a hand through his hair. "But I can explain everything. Just please, sit down. Let me explain." She doesn't sit. Stays by the door where she can still run if she needs to. Adrian sinks into the couch and drops his head into his hands. "It started 3 years ago. I was working on a development project in Singapore and I met these people. Investors, they said. They wanted to move money through shell corporations. Clean transactions. Completely legal. At least that's what they told me. You're an architect. I know how money moves through real estate, how to hide cash in property deals. They needed someone with legitimate credentials who could set up the structures without attracting attention." He looks up. "The first few jobs were simple. $1 million here, $2 million there. I made 10%. It seemed manageable. And then they wanted more. Bigger transfers. Accounts in my name, in your name. I tried to pull out, but they said if I stopped, they'd expose everything. I'd lose my license. We'd lose the house. His voice cracks. "You'd hate me." Ara stands very still. "So you kept doing it." "I kept doing it, and I kept thinking I could get ahead of it, that I could steal enough to disappear and we could start over somewhere clean, new names, new life. But then Park figured out what I was taking and..." He stops. "And I panicked. You drugged me. I had to. If you'd been awake, you would have tried to stop me. You would have called the embassy or the police and they would have arrested both of us. I needed you safe, Ara. I needed you out of the way until I could fix this." The lies come so smooth, so practiced. She almost believes him herself. "You left me in Seoul with nothing." "I left you with access to money. I left you with instructions. I knew Minjun would find you and I knew he'd try to use you against me, but I also knew you'd be smart enough to..." He stands, crosses to her. "To survive, like you always do." She lets him get close, lets him reach for her hand. His fingers are cold. "I'm sorry," he says, and there are actual tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I never meant to hurt you." This is the moment. The moment where the old Ara would have softened, would have seen the tears and heard the apology, and decided that maybe he deserved another chance. But the old Ara died in Seoul. "Where's the money?" she asks. Adrian blinks. "What?" "The 40 million. Where is it?" His hand goes slack around hers. I don't know what you're talking about." Diana Chen says you owe Ouroboros client 48 hours to produce financial instruments you were supposed to deliver to Manila. I'm assuming those instruments are connected to wherever you hid the money you stole from Park. She pulls her hand free. So I'm asking you again. Where is it? He takes a step back, studies her face. They got to you. Nobody got to me. No, they did. Park or Minjun or whoever. They told you I stole 40 million and now you think... He stops. His expression shifts, hardens. What did they offer you? What? To betray me. What did they offer you? His voice is rising. Money? Immunity? A new identity? I'm not betraying you. Bullshit. You're working with them. You have been since Seoul. He moves to the window, stares out at the city. When he speaks again, his voice is flat. I should have known. I should have known the moment you transferred that money to Tokyo that you'd already chosen a side. Ara's heart is pounding, but she keeps her voice steady. You chose for me. The moment you drugged me, you chose. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to protect yourself. The words explode out of her before she can stop them. Don't lie to me, Adrian. Don't stand there and pretend this was about us. You stole money, and you got caught, and you needed a scapegoat. That's all I ever was to you. That's all I've been for 12 years. The silence that follows is absolute. Adrian turns slowly. His face has gone very still. You don't mean that. I do. Everything I did, everything, was to give us a future, to give you the life you deserved. I deserved a husband who didn't treat me like a pawn. You think Park treats you better? He laughs, sharp and bitter. You think Minjun or Diana or whoever else you're working with gives a shit about you? They're using you, Ara. The moment they get what they want, they'll discard you just like they discard everyone. Maybe, but at least they're honest about it. Something flickers across his face. Rage, maybe, or fear. I need you to listen to me very carefully, he says quietly. The money Park wants? It's gone. I moved it this morning while you were in the air, distributed it across accounts they'll never find. The only way to recover it is with access codes that only I have. Then give them the codes. I can't. Because the moment I do, they'll kill me. The only reason I'm still alive is because I'm the only one who knows where that money is. He crosses back to her. Which means you're the only leverage they have. Do you understand? They're not going to let you walk away from this. They're going to use you until I give them what they want, and then they're going to kill us both. Ara feels the room tilt. You're lying. I'm not. And I think you know that. He reaches for her again. We can still get out of this, together, but you have to trust me. I will never trust you again. Then we're both dead. The words hang in the air like smoke. Ara's phone buzzes in her pocket. The new one from Minjun. She pulls it out and Adrian's eyes track the movement. Who gave you that phone? She doesn't answer, opens the message. He's stalling. The money moved an hour ago, but we tracked it. Singapore to Grand Cayman to Zurich. Get the access codes. We're running out of time. She looks up at Adrian, at the husband she spent 12 years trying to understand, and realizes with sudden, terrible clarity that she never knew him at all. They tracked the money, she says. His face goes white. They know where it is. They just need the codes. She takes a step toward him. Give them to me, and this ends. If I give them the codes, I'm dead. You're dead anyway. At least this way I get to live. The confession sits between them like a third person. She watches him process it, watches the moment he understands that she's not here to save him. She's here to save herself. You're really going to do this, he says. Not a question, an accusation. Yes. After everything. After 12 years. Because of 12 years? He nods slowly, backs toward the kitchen. Then I guess we're done talking. He moves fast, faster than she expected. Grabs something from the counter. A gun. Small, black, professional. Ara freezes. I bought it this morning, Adrian says. His hand is steady on the grip. Just in case. I didn't think I'd actually need it. I really didn't think you'd... He stops. I loved you. You know that, right? In my own fucked up way, I really did love you. Put the gun down. I can't, because if I do, you're going to call Park. You're going to give him the location, and then I'm dead. His finger moves to the trigger. But if you're dead, they lose their leverage. They lose their reason to keep me alive. I can disappear. I can... The door slams open. Diana Chen steps inside with two men behind her, both armed, both professional. She sees Adrian with the gun, and her expression doesn't change. Mr. Cross, lower your weapon. Get out. Can't do that. This property is under Ouroboros jurisdiction, which means any violence that occurs here reflects on us. She nods to the men behind her. You have 3 seconds to put the gun down, or my associates will make that decision for you. Adrian swings the gun toward Diana. I'll fucking shoot you. You won't. Because the moment you do, you lose the only protection keeping Park's people from putting a bullet in your head. Diana takes a step forward. Your wife isn't your enemy, Mr. Cross. We're not your enemy. The only enemy you have right now is yourself. She's working with them. Of course she is. You made her work with them when you left her in Seoul with no options. Diana's voice is calm, professional. Now put the gun down and let's discuss this like adults. Aura can see the calculation running behind Adrian's eyes. The math of survival. How many moves ahead he can still get if he pulls the trigger, whether killing her buys him anything except more enemies. The gun lowers, just slightly. Good, Diana says. Now. The phone on the coffee table rings. Not Aura's phone, not Adrian's. The apartment landline that shouldn't be connected to anything. Everyone freezes. Diana picks it up, listens. Her face goes carefully blank. I see, she says. Yes, understood. She ends the call and looks at Adrian. That was Park Ji-hun. He's outside with a team of 12 men. He knows you moved the money. He knows about the access codes. And he's given you 10 minutes to come downstairs and negotiate before he comes up here and takes you by force. Adrian's face drains of color. That's not... You said this place was secure. It was, until you gave your wife a phone with an active tracking beacon. Diana looks at Aura. Did you know? Aura thinks about the device Minjun gave her. The panic beacon she never activated. The one that shouldn't have been transmitting unless it was always transmitting. They've been tracking me since I got on the jet, she says quietly. Not you. Your husband. They knew he'd meet you here. They let this entire scenario play out so they could corner him somewhere he couldn't run. Diana turns to her men. Secure Mr. Cross. We're going downstairs. No. Adrian raises the gun again. I'm not going down there. Then Park will come up, and in a residential building with innocent people, that gets messy. Is that what you want? The gun is shaking in his hand now. Aura can see the sweat on his forehead, the wild edge in his eyes. Adrian, she says. He looks at her. It's over. Give them the codes and maybe they'll let you live. They won't. You don't know that. I do. Because I know Park. I know what he does to people who steal from him. His voice drops. I'm sorry, Aura. I'm sorry for all of it. But I can't. I can't do what they want. He turns the gun, not toward Diana, not toward the men in the doorway, toward himself. Don't! Aura lunges forward, but Diana catches her arm. Mr. Cross, Diana says sharply, that won't solve anything. It solves everything. If I'm dead, the codes die with me. Park gets nothing, and Aura... He looks at her. Aura gets to walk away clean. They'll still come after me, Aura says. Her voice is shaking. You know they will. No, they won't, because you don't know anything. You were just the wife, the victim. They'll have no reason to... The window explodes. Glass everywhere. A figure in black tactical gear crashes through and hits the floor rolling. More figures behind him. Park's team. They came up the outside of the building. Everything happens at once. Diana's men move. Adrian swings the gun toward the window. Someone shouts. A shot fires. Aura doesn't know who. And then there are hands on her, pulling her down, covering her head while chaos erupts around her. More shots. Breaking furniture. Men shouting in Korean and English and languages she doesn't recognize. And then silence. Aura lifts her head. The apartment is destroyed. Bullet holes in the walls. One of Diana's men on the ground bleeding. Park Ji-hun standing in the center of the room with a gun in his hand and his suit completely undisturbed. Adrian is on his knees with 3 men holding him down. The gun is gone. His face is bleeding from flying glass. Park looks at him with something like disappointment. That was stupid, Mr. Cross. Very stupid. Go to hell. Eventually, but not today. Park nods to his men. They haul Adrian to his feet. Where are the access codes? Fuck you. Park sighs. Looks at Ara. Mrs. Cross, are you injured? She shakes her head, can't find words. Good. Then you're going to want to turn around for this next part. No. Her voice sounds distant, not hers. No, I need to know. Need to know what? If he really did it. If he really was going to... She looks at Adrian, at the man she married. If he was really going to kill himself just to keep the money away from you. Adrian meets her eyes. Yes. The word is quiet, final. Park studies them both. How romantic. Unfortunately, suicide isn't an option anymore. He takes out his phone, makes a call, speaks in rapid Korean. A minute later, Kang Min-jun walks through the broken door. He looks at the destroyed apartment, at Adrian bleeding on his knees, at Ara standing frozen in the middle of the wreckage. Well, he says, this escalated. Park hands him a tablet. The codes? We have them. He sent them to a dead-drop email this morning, thinking we wouldn't find it. We found it. Min-jun looks at Adrian. Did you really think we wouldn't? Did you think you were smarter than an entire network of people who've been moving money illegally for 20 years? Adrian says nothing. The money is already being transferred back, Min-jun continues. All of it. Every account, every shell company, every hidden vault you thought we didn't know about. He crouches down to Adrian's level. You stole from us. You lied to us. You tried to use your wife as a shield. And now you have nothing left except our mercy. Then kill me, Adrian says. Just fucking kill me and get it over with. No. Park puts his gun away. Death is easy. I want you to live. I want you to spend the next 20 years in a Korean prison thinking about how stupid you were. He looks at Diana. Ouroboros is released from its contract. Mr. Cross is no longer your concern. Diana nods. Understood. She looks at Ara. Mrs. Cross, you'll need to come with us. We need to debrief. She stays, Park interrupts. She's a witness and a victim. The FBI will want to talk to her. The FBI? Ara's voice cracks. What? Min-jun stands. Agent Webb has been coordinating with Korean authorities since Seoul. We've been feeding her information in exchange for immunity on certain unrelated matters. Your husband's arrest has been in the works for weeks. You were just the catalyst that forced it to happen sooner than planned. The room tilts again. Ara grabs the back of a chair to steady herself. You knew, she says. You all knew from the beginning. We suspected, but we needed him to make a mistake, to run, to panic. Min-jun almost looks sympathetic. You showing up in Seoul gave us that opportunity. Everything that happened after, the Rose Room, the extraction, Hong Kong, we were always 3 steps ahead. Ara looks at Adrian, at his face. At the moment he realizes that he never had a chance. You used me, she says to Min-jun. Yes, both of you. She looks at Park. Everyone. Welcome to the game, Mrs. Cross. Park buttons his jacket. The difference is, you get to walk away. Your husband doesn't. They drag Adrian toward the door. He doesn't fight, doesn't struggle, just looks back at Ara one last time. I'm sorry, he says. And she believes him, finally believes him. But it doesn't change anything. They take him away and the apartment goes quiet, except for the sound of Hong Kong traffic 47 floors below, and Ara's own breathing and the persistent ringing in her ears from the gunfire. Diana is talking to her. Min-jun is talking to her. Someone is trying to guide her toward the door. But all Ara can think about is the look on Adrian's face when he pointed the gun at himself. The moment he chose death over consequences. The moment she realized that even at the end, even when everything was lost, he still wasn't thinking about her. He was just thinking about escape. Mrs. Cross? Agent Caroline Webb is standing in the doorway. She must have arrived with Park's team. We need to talk. Ara looks at her, at the woman who's been watching this whole thing unfold from somewhere in the shadows, who probably knew about the tracking beacon, who probably orchestrated half of what happened in Seoul just to get Adrian exactly where she wanted him. Am I under arrest? Ada asks. Boss. No, but you're a material witness in an international money laundering case, and you're not leaving Hong Kong until we sort out exactly what you knew and when you knew it. Webb's expression is professional, unreadable. So I'd suggest you start thinking very carefully about how you want this story to end. Ara thinks about Seoul, about the hotel room, about 12 years of marriage, about every lie and every manipulation and every moment she thought she was crazy when really she was just married to a criminal. She thinks about the woman she was 3 days ago and the woman she is now and realizes she doesn't recognize either of them. I want a lawyer, she says. Webb nods. Smart. Come on. They walk her out through the destroyed apartment, past the broken window where Park's team came crashing through, past the blood on the floor and the bullet holes in the walls. Down the elevator, through the lobby, into another black SUV that smells like leather and air conditioning and the future she can't see. Hong Kong slides past the windows, endless lights, endless buildings, endless people who have no idea what just happened 47 floors above their heads. And Ara sits in the back seat with Agent Webb beside her, and Minjin across from her and the weight of everything pressing down on her chest until she can barely breathe. Where are we going? She finally asks. FBI field office. We have a lot to discuss. And then? Then we figure out how to untangle you from your husband's crimes. How to clean up the mess he made of your life. Webb pauses. How to make sure you're safe. Ara almost laughs. Safe. She hasn't been safe in 12 years. The SUV pulls into an underground garage. More men in suits. More security. More people who know more about her life than she does. They take her to a small room with a table and 2 chairs and a mirror that's definitely two-way glass. Webb sits across from her. Let's start at the beginning, Webb says. Tell me about Seoul. And Ara opens her mouth to answer, to tell the story of waking up alone, of finding the note, of everything that came after. When the door opens and Park Ji-hun walks in. Webb stands. You can't be in here. I can. I have diplomatic immunity and a very good lawyer. Park sits in the chair Webb just vacated. Mrs. Cross and I need to have a private conversation. That's not... Agent Webb. Park's voice is steel. Your case against Adrian Cross is airtight. You have his confession on tape, his financial records, and enough evidence to put him away for 20 years. What you don't have is any reason to keep his wife involved. So you're going to leave this room, and Mrs. Cross and I are going to discuss her future, without federal interference. Webb looks at Ara. You don't have to talk to him, but Ara is tired. So tired, and she's starting to understand that this conversation was always coming, that everything up until now was just prelude. It's fine, she says. Leave us. Webb hesitates, then walks out. The door closes. The lock clicks. Park folds his hands on the table. You're free to go, Mrs. Cross. All charges dropped. All accusations cleared. As far as the world is concerned, you were an innocent bystander who got caught in your husband's web of lies. And I need you to understand something. The money your husband stole, we recovered 90%. The other 10%, approximately $4 million, we're writing off as operational losses. He pauses. Unless you'd like to keep it. Ara's blood goes cold. What? Your husband opened an account in Grand Cayman 2 years ago. Put your name on it. Deposited $4 million over time. We found it this morning. Park slides a piece of paper across the table. Account information. Her name, the balance. He probably meant to use it as part of his exit strategy, but since he won't be needing it anymore, and since technically it's in your name, and since you've been extraordinarily cooperative throughout this entire ordeal, he shrugs. Consider it compensation for 12 years of marriage to a criminal. But Ara stares at the paper, at the number, at what $4 million could buy. Freedom, distance, a new life so far from Adrian and Seoul and all of this that she'd never have to think about it again. Why? She asks. Because you earned it. And because I like to reward people who help me. Park stands. But there's one condition. You never speak about what happened in Seoul. You never mention my name. You never contact your husband again. You take the money and you disappear and you let Adrian Cross rot in prison alone. Can you do that? Ara looks at him, at the man who used her just as thoroughly as Adrian did, who orchestrated this entire nightmare just to recover his stolen money and his wounded pride. She should say no. She should walk out of this room and tell Agent Webb everything and let the FBI sort through the corruption and the violence and the lies. But she's so tired, and $4 million is a lot of freedom. Yes, she says. I can do that. Park smiles. Good. Then we're done here. He walks to the door, knocks once. It opens. Mrs. Cross is free to go. Make sure she gets to the airport safely. And just like that, it's over. Ara sits alone in the interrogation room and stares at the account information and tries to figure out when she became the kind of person who would take blood money from a criminal just to escape her own life. The answer, she realizes, is 3 days ago. The moment she woke up in Seoul and found herself alone. That was when Allara Vance died and someone else took her place. Someone harder. Someone capable of survival no matter the cost. She picks up the paper, folds it, puts it in her pocket next to the phone Minjin gave her and the panic beacon she never used and all the other pieces of evidence that she participated in this nightmare. Then she stands, walks to the door, steps out into the hallway where Agent Webb is waiting. Am I free to go? Ara asks. Webb studies her face. For now. But Mrs. Cross, she pauses. Be careful, your husband made a lot of enemies, and some of them might not believe you're as innocent as you claim. I'll manage. I'm sure you will. Webb hands her a business card. If you need anything, if anyone contacts you, call me. Ara takes the card. Won't call. Can't call. Because calling would mean admitting that she's complicit in all of this, that she helped Park, that she took the money, that she's just as corrupt as everyone else in this story. She walks out of the FBI office into the brutal Hong Kong heat, gets into a taxi, gives the driver the address of her hotel, a different hotel, one Park's people arranged, somewhere safe and anonymous where she can catch her breath. The city slides past. So many people. So many lives intersecting and diverging and continuing on like nothing happened. Her phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. Wire transfer complete. Account active. Welcome to your new life. KM. Ara deletes the message, powers off the phone, throws it out the taxi window into Hong Kong traffic. She doesn't need it anymore. She doesn't need any of them anymore. At the hotel, she checks in under a name that isn't hers. Another gift from Park. A passport that will get her anywhere in the world as long as she never looks back. In the room, she opens her laptop, logs into the Grand Cayman account. $4 million. Real. Waiting. She could do anything, go anywhere, become anyone. But first she needs to decide if she's really willing to live with what she's done to get here. The answer, she discovers, is yes. Yes, she can live with it, because the alternative is going back to being Adrian Cross's wife. And that woman is dead. Ara closes the laptop, lies back on the hotel bed, stares at the ceiling. Somewhere in this city, Adrian is in custody, probably being processed, probably being transferred back to Korea to stand trial. Somewhere in Seoul, Minjun and Park are celebrating their victory. Somewhere in Washington, Agent Webb is filing reports and closing cases and moving on to the next criminal. And here, in this anonymous hotel room, Allara Vance is trying to figure out who she becomes next. The answer, when it comes, is simple. She becomes no one. She becomes a woman without a past, without a husband, without anyone who can hurt her ever again. And if that means taking blood money from murderers, if that means walking away while Adrian burns, if that means becoming exactly the kind of person she used to fear, then so be it. Survival doesn't care about morality, and Ara is done trying to be good. She picks up the hotel phone, dials the front desk. I need a flight, she says. First available. Doesn't matter where, just somewhere far from here. The clerk types. I have a flight to Saigon in 4 hours. Vietnam. Why not? She's never been. Adrian never wanted to go. Perfect. Book it, she says, and hangs up. 4 hours until her new life begins. 4 hours to stop being Allara Vance and start being whoever comes next. She gets in the shower, lets the hot water beat down on her until her skin turns red. washes away Seoul and Hong Kong and 12 years of marriage. When she gets out, she looks at herself in the mirror. Same face, same body. But something in her eyes has changed, hardened. She looks like a survivor, or maybe she just looks like someone who's done terrible things and learned to live with it. Either way, she's still standing, and that's all that matters anymore. Jeez. The flight to Saigon never happens. Ara is in the hotel lobby with her bag and her fake passport and 4 hours of freedom stretching ahead of her when her phone rings. Not the burner from Minjin. She threw that one into traffic. Her old phone. The one she thought was dead. She pulls it out. Unknown number. Hong Kong country code. She should let it ring. Should walk out the door and get in the taxi and disappear like she planned. But her thumb presses answer before her brain catches up. Mrs. Cross. A woman's voice. American. Not Agent Webb. My name is Allara Vance. I'm calling about your mother. The world stops. My mother is dead, Ada says. Her voice sounds like it's coming from underwater. I know, I'm her estate attorney. We've been trying to reach you for 6 months. There's a matter of inheritance that requires your immediate attention. I understand you're currently in Hong Kong. I can be at your hotel in 20 minutes if you're willing to meet. Ara's brain is screaming at her to hang up. This is a trap. This is Park or Minjin or the FBI or whoever else wants to keep her from leaving. Her mother died 3 years ago in a nursing home in Portland. There was no estate. There was nothing. Mrs. Cross, are you still there? What inheritance? I can't discuss it over the phone, but I promise you this is legitimate. 20 minutes, the hotel bar. Please. The line goes dead. Ara stands in the lobby holding her phone while tourists flow around her and the taxi waits outside, and her flight to Saigon boards in 3.5 hours. She should run. Instead, she walks to the hotel bar. Allara Vance looks nothing like a lawyer. Mid-40s, tired eyes, cheap suit, the kind of woman who's been beaten down by bureaucracy and bad coffee. She's sitting at a corner table with a leather portfolio and a drink she hasn't touched. Mrs. Cross, thank you for meeting me. She stands, offers her hand. Ara doesn't take it. You have 5 minutes. Fair enough. Sarah sits, slides the portfolio across the table. Your mother established a trust 3 years before she died. She named you as sole beneficiary. The trust contains one asset, a safety deposit box at a bank in Singapore. Ara's blood goes cold. Singapore. Yes. The bank has been trying to contact you for months, but all correspondence was returned. They finally tracked me down as the estate attorney and asked me to locate you personally. Sarah opens the portfolio, shows her documents, official letterhead, signatures. Everything looks legitimate. The box is registered under your mother's maiden name, Allara Vance, the same name you were born with. My mother had nothing. She died with nothing. Apparently she had this, and apparently it was important enough that she went to significant legal trouble to make sure you'd be the only person who could access it. Sarah pauses. Mrs. Cross, I don't know what's in that box, but your mother paid for 25 years of rental fees up front. Whatever it is, she wanted you to have it. Ara thinks about her mother in that nursing home, dementia eating her brain one memory at a time. The last conversation they had, if you could call it a conversation, her mother hadn't recognized her own daughter, had called her by someone else's name, had cried and asked where Robert was. Robert, Ara's father, dead for 30 years in a car accident she barely remembers. Why now? Ara asks. Why are you finding me now? Because the bank finally escalated it to legal action. They need to clear the box or they'll drill it open and surrender the contents to the state. You have 72 hours to claim it. Sarah closes the portfolio. Look, I know this is strange timing. I know you probably have your own reasons for being in Hong Kong, but your mother wanted you to have whatever's in that box. Don't you want to know what it is? Yes, God help her. Yes, but Singapore means going back, means risk, means exposure. I can't, Ara says. I have to leave Hong Kong today. Then leave tomorrow. The bank opens at 9. You can be in and out in an hour. I've already arranged access. Sarah slides a business card across the table. That's my hotel. Call me if you change your mind. She stands, leaves, takes the portfolio with her. Aura sits alone at the bar and stares at the business card and thinks about her mother, about the last time she saw her alive, about the secrets people carry to their graves. Her phone buzzes. Text from Agent Webb. Your husband was transferred to Seoul an hour ago. Thought you'd want to know. Safe travels, Mrs. Cross. So Adrian is gone. Back to Korea to face charges. 20 years minimum, Park said. Maybe more. She should feel relief. Victory. Instead, she just feels empty. Another text. Different number. Don't go to Singapore, it's a trap. A friend Aura stares at the message. No name, no explanation, just a warning. From who? Min Jun? Diana? Someone else watching her from the shadows? She deletes it, picks up Allara Vance's business card, turns it over in her fingers. Her mother had nothing, died with nothing. This whole thing is probably a scam, probably someone trying to use her grief as leverage for what? What else could anyone possibly want from her that they haven't already taken? But what if it's real? What if there's something in that box that explains why her mother put her in Adrian's path? Why she encouraged the marriage even when Aura had doubts? What if she's reaching? She knows she's reaching, trying to find meaning in random coincidence because the alternative is accepting that her entire life has been chaos wrapped in cruelty with no deeper purpose. The bartender approaches. Another drink, miss. No, I need... She stops. I need to change my flight. Brexit. Singapore looks exactly like it did the last time she was here. Clean, orderly, controlled. The kind of city where even the trees grow in straight lines and jaywalking carries a fine large enough to matter. Aura checks into a hotel near Orchard Road. Doesn't sleep. Watches dawn break over the city and thinks about the safety deposit box and whatever her mother thought was important enough to hide for 3 years. At 8:30, she takes a taxi to the bank. Allara Vance is waiting outside. Still looks tired. Still looks legitimate. You came, she says. I'm here. Let's get this over with. Inside, the bank is all marble and hushed voices and the smell of money. Sarah handles the paperwork while Aura sits in a leather chair and tries not to think about the Grand Cayman account and the $4 million and all the ways this could go wrong. A bank officer escorts them to a private viewing room, brings the safety deposit box, sets it on the table, leaves. The box is small, stainless steel, a numbered tag on the side. I'll give you privacy, Sarah says, and steps out. Aura is alone with whatever her mother left behind. She opens the box. Inside, a USB drive, a letter, and a photograph. The photograph is old, faded, shows a man Aura doesn't recognize standing next to a woman who might be her mother, younger, smiling, alive. They're in front of a building with Korean lettering on the sign. Aura picks up the letter, her mother's handwriting, shaky but legible. Allara, if you're reading this, I'm dead. And if I'm dead, you need to know the truth. Your father didn't die in a car accident. He was killed. Murdered by people who thought he knew too much about money being moved through Seoul in the early 90s. Money that powerful people wanted hidden. His real name was Robert Chen. He worked for a company called Ouroboros International. The letter falls from Aura's hands. No. No, 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 no. She picks it up again, forces herself to keep reading. Robert tried to get out, tried to disappear. They found him in Portland, and they killed him, and they made it look like an accident. I was pregnant with you when it happened. I ran, changed my name, changed yours, spent 30 years looking over my shoulder. I never told you, because I thought I could keep you safe. I thought if you didn't know, they'd never find you. But then you married Adrian Cross, and I realized they already had. Adrian works for them. For Ouroboros. He always has. Your marriage wasn't chance, Allara. It was assignment. They put him in your life to watch you, to make sure Robert's daughter never learned the truth about what her father knew. The USB drive contains everything Robert gave me before he died. Account numbers, names, proof of what Ouroboros really is. I kept it hidden for 30 years because I was too afraid to use it, but you're braver than I ever was. Use it. Destroy them. Finish what your father started. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. I'm sorry I let them win. Mom. Aura reads the letter 3 times. 4. The words don't change. The truth doesn't soften. Adrian didn't find her at a gallery opening in Manhattan. He was sent. Their entire relationship, 12 years of marriage, every fight, every manipulation, every moment she thought she was going crazy, was surveillance, was control. They were watching her the whole time, making sure Robert Chen's daughter stayed quiet, stayed ignorant, stayed trapped. Her hands are shaking so badly she can barely hold the USB drive. She plugs it into her phone, opens the files. Hundreds of documents, financial records from the 90s, names she recognizes. Park Ji-hun. Others she doesn't. Companies that don't exist anymore. Transactions in amounts that make her $4 million look like pocket change. And at the center of it all, Ouroboros International, not a private intelligence syndicate, not an extraction service, a criminal organization that's been operating for 40 years, money laundering on a scale that crosses borders and topples governments. Her father found out, tried to expose it, got killed. And then they put Adrian Cross in her life to make sure she never went looking for answers. The room is spinning. Aura grips the edge of the table and forces herself to breathe. Everything she thought she knew is wrong. Every choice she made was predetermined. Even coming to Seoul, even that was probably part of the plan. Let her think she's escaping when really she's just moving through a maze they built. Her phone rings. She doesn't recognize the number, but she answers anyway because what does it matter now? Mrs. Cross. Diana Chen's voice. Cool. Professional. I understand you're in Singapore, visiting a bank, opening a safety deposit box that belonged to your mother. Aura's vision goes red. You're watching me. We've always been watching you. That's the point. Diana pauses. I need you to listen very carefully. Whatever you found in that box, whatever your mother left you, it doesn't change anything. Your husband is in custody. Park has his money. You have your freedom. Take it and walk away. Your father made the same mistake your husband did. He thought he could steal from us and disappear. He was wrong. Just like Adrian was wrong. Just like you'll be wrong if you try to use whatever's on that USB drive. It's evidence. It's proof of everything you've done. It's 30-year-old financial records that don't prove anything except that money moved and people got paid. Every transaction in those files was legal at the time. Every name you see either worked for legitimate companies or is already dead. Diana's voice hardens. You have nothing, Mrs. Cross. Nothing except a dead mother's paranoid conspiracy theories and a target on your back if you don't walk away right now. Then why are you calling? If I have nothing, why do you care? Silence on the other end, long enough that Aura thinks Diana might have hung up. Because I liked your father, Diana finally says. Robert Chen was a good man who made a bad choice, and I don't want to watch his daughter make the same mistake. You knew him. I worked with him. Before Ouroboros. Before all of this got as complicated as it is now. Diana takes a breath. Walk away, Allara. Take your money. Disappear. Live the life your parents wanted you to have. Don't waste it trying to fight a war you can't win. And if I don't, then you'll end up exactly like your father. A car accident, a tragic coincidence, gone before anyone realizes you were ever a threat. The line goes dead. Aura sits in the viewing room with the USB drive and the letter and the photograph of her parents standing in front of a building in Seoul 30 years ago. She has two choices. Walk away. Take the $4 million. Disappear into whatever life she can build from the wreckage. Or finish what her father started. Use the evidence. Expose Ouroboros. Burn the whole thing down even if it burns her with it. The smart choice is obvious. The right choice is harder. Sarah Vance knocks on the door. Mrs. Cross, is everything okay? Aura looks at the photograph, at her mother's smile, at the man she barely remembers being her father. No, she says. Everything is not okay. But she picks up the USB drive anyway, puts it in her pocket, folds the letter, takes the photograph, walks out of the bank into Singapore sunlight with evidence that could destroy an international criminal organization and a death sentence hanging over her head. Her phone buzzes. Text from Agent Webb. Need to talk. Urgent. Call me. Aura calls. Webb answers on the first ring. Where are you? Singapore. Why? Because your husband escaped custody 3 hours ago. The world tilts. What? They were transferring him from the airport to the detention facility in Seoul. Ambush at a stoplight, 3 dead. Adrian is gone. Webb's voice is tight. We think Ouroboros extracted him, which means everything we built our case on just collapsed. Why would they extract him? You said he was finished. You said, we were wrong. We thought Park Ji-hun had operational control over the Asia division. We thought Adrian was just a contractor. Webb pauses. Allara, your husband isn't a contractor. He's management. He's been running the Korean network for Ouroboros for 5 years. Park works for him. Minjin works for him. The entire Seoul operation answers to Adrian Cross. Ada can't breathe, can't think, can't process what she's hearing. That's not possible. Park had him beaten. Minjin said they were following his orders. All of it. Seoul, Hong Kong, the extraction. It was performance. Theater designed to make us think Adrian was desperate and vulnerable, when really he was in control the entire time. Webb's voice drops. And we fell for it. We built a case around a narrative he fed us, and now he's in the wind with federal protection blown and diplomatic immunity restored because we can't prove any of it without him in custody. Where is he? Bangkok. Maybe Manila. Somewhere in Southeast Asia with Ouroboros resources and enough money to disappear forever. Webb takes a breath. Allara, listen to me. Your husband knows you have evidence. Your mother's safety deposit box was flagged in our system, and Ouroboros has people inside our system. He knows you opened it. He knows what you found. And he's going to come for you to make sure you never use it. Let him come. That's not... Did you hear what I just said? Your husband runs an international criminal organization. He has resources we can't match and reach we can't counter. If you stay visible, if you try to use that evidence, he'll kill you before you can expose him. Ada thinks about the letter, about her father, about 30 years of running and hiding and living in fear, about what that fear did to her mother, how it rotted her from the inside until there was nothing left but dementia in nursing homes and death without dignity. No, she says. No what? No, I'm not running. No, I'm not hiding. No, I'm not going to let him win. Ada's voice is steady, clear. Agent Webb, I have evidence that proves Ouroboros International has been operating for 40 years. Names, accounts, transactions. Enough to build a real case, but I need protection. I need resources. And I need you to help me finish this. Allara. My father tried to expose them and they killed him. My mother spent 30 years afraid. Adrian spent 12 years making sure I never learned the truth. And now I know. She grips the phone. I'm done being a victim. I'm done being leverage. I'm done letting these people decide what my life looks like. Webb is quiet for a long time. If we do this, if we really go after Ouroboros, they'll come after you with everything they have. Adrian won't just kill you. He'll destroy you, make you suffer, make an example out of what happens to people who cross him. I know. And you're willing to accept that? Ada thinks about the needle mark on her arm, about waking up alone in Seoul, about 12 years of manipulation disguised as marriage. Yes, she says, I'm willing. Then get on a plane, come to Bangkok. I'll meet you there with a security team. We'll figure out how to use what you have. Webb pauses. But Allara, once you start this, there's no going back. Once you become a witness against Ouroboros, you'll never be safe again. Do you understand that? I understand. Okay. Text me your flight details. I'll have people waiting at the airport. The line goes dead. Ara stands on the street corner in Singapore and looks up at the sky and thinks about the choices that led her here. Every decision, every compromise, every moment she chose safety over truth. She's done choosing safety. Her phone buzzes again. Unknown number. She answers. Ara. Adrian's voice, soft, familiar. The voice she heard every day for 12 years. We need to talk. Go to hell. I'm already there. And I'm taking you with me. He sounds tired, sad. You opened your mother's box, found her paranoid conspiracy files, and now you think you understand what's happening, but you don't. I understand that you lied to me, that our entire marriage was surveillance, that you worked for the people who killed my father. Your father killed himself. He stole money, got caught, and died running from consequences, just like I would have if you hadn't helped Park. Adrian laughs quietly. You really thought they arrested me, didn't you? You thought you'd won. God, Ara, you're so much smarter than this. When did you become so easy to manipulate? When I married you. Exactly. That's exactly my point. His voice shifts, hardens. You were always the mission. From the moment we met. I was assigned to watch you, marry you, keep you quiet. And I did. For 12 years I played the role. The husband, the partner. The man who loved you just enough to keep you from looking too closely at what I really did for a living. And Seoul was the exit strategy. I needed out of Asia. Needed to disappear before Park figured out how much I'd really stolen. But I couldn't just leave. I had to make it look like I was desperate, vulnerable, running from people more powerful than me. He pauses. So I used you, I drugged you, left you in Seoul, let Park think he was hunting me when really I was leading him exactly where I needed him to go. Hong Kong, federal custody. The perfect cover for Ouroboros to extract me during transport. Ara's vision is blurring. The ambush wasn't an ambush, was a scheduled pickup. Those men who died were already dead, liabilities we needed to eliminate anyway. 2 birds, 1 stone. His voice drops. And now I'm free. And you're not. Because you have evidence that makes you dangerous and a target and completely fucked. I'm going to the FBI. No, you're not. Because the moment you do, I'll release 12 years of surveillance footage. Every conversation, every fight, every moment you knew I was hurting you and stayed anyway. I'll show the world that you weren't a victim, you were complicit, that you benefited from my crimes, that you're just as guilty as I am. That's not true, isn't it? You lived in the house I bought with laundered money, wore clothes I paid for with stolen cash, ate at restaurants funded by criminal enterprise. You knew, Ara. Maybe not the details, but you knew something was wrong and you chose not to look. He laughs again. And now if you expose me, you expose yourself. You'll go to prison right alongside me. Is that really the ending you want? Ara closes her eyes, feels the USB drive in her pocket, feels the weight of choices that can't be unmade. I want the truth. The truth is you're trapped, just like your mother was trapped, just like your father was trapped. The only difference is I'm giving you a choice. Walk away now, keep the money Park gave you, and live. Or come after me and die trying. Where are you? Bangkok. Waiting. His voice is almost gentle. Come find me, Ara. Let's finish this face to face. Let's see which one of us is really strong enough to survive. The line goes dead. Ara stands in Singapore with the sun beating down and the evidence burning in her pocket and Agent Webb waiting in Bangkok and Adrian somewhere in the same city daring her to come. She should run, should take the money and disappear, should let the FBI handle it, should choose survival over revenge. But survival is just another cage. And Ara is done living in cages. She finds Allara Vance sitting in a coffee shop across from the bank. I need to charter a plane. To where? Bangkok. Today. Now. Sarah looks at her, sees something in her face that makes her not ask questions. That's expensive. I have $4 million in a Cayman account. I think I can manage. Mrs. Cross, Sarah, my mother spent 30 years afraid. I'm not going to spend 30 more. So either help me or get out of my way. Sarah pulls out her phone, makes calls. 2 hours later, Ara is on a private jet cutting through the sky toward Bangkok and the confrontation she's been running from her entire life. She texts Agent Webb the flight details. Gets confirmation back. Security team standing by. Safe house arranged. Federal prosecutors ready to move. She texts Min Jun. Tell Park I know everything. Tell him I'm coming for Adrian. Tell him if he tries to stop me, I'll release the files and everyone burns. She doesn't text Adrian. Doesn't have to. He already knows she's coming. The jet lands at a private terminal outside Bangkok 90 minutes later. Ara steps out into heat that feels like a physical blow, and humidity that makes breathing difficult, and air that smells like exhaust and street food, and the sweat of 8 million people trying to survive in the same impossible city. Agent Webb is waiting with 2 men in tactical gear and an SUV with diplomatic plates. Mrs. Cross, Webb's face is grim. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The safe house was compromised an hour ago. Someone leaked the location. We had to evacuate. Webb pulls out a tablet, shows her surveillance footage of men in black moving through an apartment. Professional. Armed. They're hunting you. They know you're here. Good. Ara's voice doesn't shake. Where's Adrian? We don't know. He's gone dark. No phone activity, no credit cards, no digital footprint. It's like he vanished. Webb looks at her. Allara, this is insane. You can't go after him when we don't even know where... Ara's phone rings. Unknown number. She answers. Siam Paragon, top floor, restaurant called Vertigo, 9 o'clock. Adrian's voice. Come alone or I'll disappear and you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. How do I know you won't just kill me? Because I want you to see what you've become before you die. I want you to understand that everything you think you're fighting for, justice, truth, revenge, is just another cage. And I'm the one holding the key. He hangs up. Ara looks at Webb. Siam Paragon, 9 o'clock. That's a public building, hundreds of witnesses. He's either stupid or he doesn't care anymore. Ara checks her watch. 3 hours. He wants an audience. He wants to make sure everyone knows what happened when I tried to fight back. Then we don't go. We wait. We build the case quietly, and he disappears and this never ends. Ara opens the SUV door. I'm going. You can provide backup or you can stay here, but I'm going. Webb looks at her security team, back at Ara. You're sure about this? No, but I'm done being careful. They drive through Bangkok traffic while the sun sinks toward the horizon and the city lights up like a living thing. Ara watches it all slide past and thinks about her father, about her mother, about 12 years with Adrian, about the woman she was and the woman she's becoming. The SUV stops 2 blocks from Siam Paragon. Webb turns in her seat. We'll have people inside, in the restaurant, in the building, on the street. If things go wrong, if he tries anything, we'll move. But Allara, she pauses. If you walk in there, you're gambling with your life. Is whatever's on that USB drive really worth dying for? Ara thinks about the letter, about her mother's shaky handwriting, about finishing what her father started. Yes, she says. It is. She gets out of the SUV, walks toward Siam Paragon. The building rises above her like a glass and steel monument to money and power, and all the things she used to think mattered. Inside, the mall is crowded with tourists and locals, and the kind of people who shop at designer stores and eat at restaurants with names like Vertigo. She takes the elevator to the top floor, steps out into dim lighting and soft music and the smell of expensive food. The restaurant is exactly what she expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows, city views, tables set for people who measure their worth in zeros. Adrian is waiting at a corner table. He looks different, thinner, harder, hair cut short, wearing a suit that probably costs more than most people make in a year. He sees her and smiles. You came. Ada sits across from him. Did you think I wouldn't? I hoped you wouldn't. I really did. He signals a waiter, orders wine she doesn't want, waits until they're alone again. You look good, Ada. Surviving agrees with you. Cut the shit. You wanted me here. I'm here, now what? Now we talk. Like adults. Like the people we always should have been if we'd just been honest with each other from the start. He leans back. I never loved you. You know that, right? It was always just the job, the assignment. Watch Robert Chen's daughter. Make sure she never learns the truth. Keep her quiet. I know, but... He pauses. But somewhere along the way, I stopped hating you. You were supposed to be easy, weak, the kind of woman who'd believe anything as long as I said it with enough conviction. But you weren't. You were smarter than I expected, stronger, and I started to respect that. Is this the part where you apologize? No. This is the part where I explain why you need to walk away. He leans forward. That USB drive your mother gave you? It's worthless. The accounts are closed. The companies don't exist. The names are either dead or protected by diplomatic immunity. You can't touch us with 30-year-old financial records and a dead woman's conspiracy theories. Agent Webb seems to think I can. Agent Webb is desperate for a win. She's been chasing Ouroboros for 5 years and she has nothing to show for it except a stack of useless warrants and a budget that gets cut every quarter. You're her last chance to justify her entire career. He picks up his wine glass. But even if she's right, even if you manage to make something stick, you'll spend the next 20 years in witness protection. Looking over your shoulder, afraid to make friends, afraid to live. Is that really what you want? I want you to pay for what you did. To your father?
To your mother? He shakes his head. I didn't kill your father, Ara. I was 8 years old when Robert Chen died. I had nothing to do with it. But Ouroboros did. Ouroboros did what it always does, protected its interests. Your father stole, he got caught, he ran. They found him. End of story. And my mother?
Your mother chose fear. She could have come forward, could have used the evidence, could have exposed us.
But she was too afraid, so she hid, and she died hiding. He sets down his glass. Don't make her mistake, Ara. Don't let fear win. I'm not afraid.
You should be. His eyes go cold. Because if you don't walk away right now, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to release every piece of surveillance footage from our marriage. Every fight, every moment you looked the other way, every dollar you spent knowing somewhere deep down that it came from blood. And I'm going to make sure the world knows that Allara Vance wasn't a victim. She was an accomplice.
Do it. Ara's voice is steady. Release the footage. Tell everyone what I did. Show them exactly what 12 years with you turned me into. Because I'm not ashamed anymore, Adrian. I'm not afraid of what people think. I'm not afraid of you. The silence that follows is absolute. Adrian studies her face. You've changed. Seoul changed me. You changed me. Everything that's happened changed me. She leans forward. And now I'm going to change you.
She pulls out her phone, opens a video, presses play. The screen shows Park Ji-hun in the Rose Room, shows Min-jun explaining the plan, shows Diana Chen discussing Ouroboros protocols, shows every conversation, every confession, every piece of evidence Webb needed to build a case. Ara recorded it all. Every moment since Seoul, she was documenting everything. I sent this to Agent Webb an hour ago, she says quietly, along with the USB drive, along with testimony about everything you told me, everything I saw, everything I know. Adrian's face drains of color. You were right about one thing. The old evidence is worthless, but the new evidence? She smiles without warmth. That's enough to indict half of Ouroboros' leadership, including you. He stops, swallows. You're lying.
I'm not. And you know I'm not. Because you taught me how to lie, Adrian. You taught me how to survive. You just didn't realize I'd get so good at it. He stands. The table rocks. Wine spills. People at nearby tables turn to look. You stupid. He catches himself, sits back down, forces his voice calm. You just signed your own death warrant. Maybe, but I took you down with me. That's enough. Is it? Is revenge really worth dying for?
It's not revenge. Ada stands. It's justice. There's a difference. She turns to leave.
Ara? His voice stops her. I really am sorry. For what it's worth. She looks back at him. At the man she married. At the monster wearing his face. It's not worth anything, she says, and walks out. Behind her, Adrian sits alone at the table while FBI agents close in from every direction and the city lights up below like a battlefield, and the war he spent 12 years preparing for finally arrives.
Ara takes the elevator down, walks through the mall, emerges onto the street where Webb is waiting. We have him, Webb says. Thai authorities are moving in now. He'll be in custody within the hour. Good. Allara, what you did in there, that was incredibly dangerous. If he'd been armed, if he'd ikit, he wasn't going to kill me. Not in public, not with witnesses. Ara looks up at the building, at the top floor where Adrian is probably being handcuffed right now. He wanted me to be afraid, wanted me to run, and when I didn't, he had nothing left. Webb nods slowly. What happens now? Now? Ara takes a breath. Now I testify. I give you everything, and then I disappear and hope that's enough. It will be. We'll protect you. Witness protection, new identity, everything you need. Ara thinks about her mother in that nursing home, about 30 years of hiding. No, she says, no witness protection. I'm done hiding. That's not safe. I don't care. I want my life back, my name back, my freedom back. She looks at Webb. You get Ouroboros, you get Adrian, you get everyone, but I walk away clean. That's the deal. Webb studies her face. That's a big ask. So is bringing down an international criminal organization. I think we're even. A long pause.
Then Webb nods. Okay, we'll make it work. Ara allows herself one moment of relief, one breath where the weight lifts just slightly. Then her phone rings. Unknown number. She answers. Mrs. Cross. Park Ji-hoon's voice, cold, flat. Congratulations, you've won. Your husband is in custody. Ouroboros is compromised. The FBI has everything they need. Then why are you calling?
Because I want you to understand something.
His voice drops. Adrian Cross was never the prize. He was never the real power. He was middle management playing at being important. The real architects of Ouroboros? He pauses. You'll never touch them. They're too protected, too connected, too far above your pay grade. We'll see. No, you won't, because they're already moving, restructuring, eliminating liabilities. And Mrs. Cross? His voice goes completely flat. You just became a liability. The line goes dead. Ara looks at Webb. We need to move. Now. What? Why? The explosion tears through the night like thunder. 50 meters away. Car bomb. The SUV they arrived in erupts in flames and shrapnel, and the screams of people too close to the blast. Ara hits the ground. Webb is on top of her. Tactical team forming a perimeter. People running. Sirens already wailing in the distance. Are you hurt? Webb shouts over the chaos. No, I'm... Another explosion. Different direction. Closer. They're not trying to kill her. They're hurting her. Move! Webb hauls her to her feet. They run. Away from the mall, away from the crowds, into a side street that's too dark and too empty. A van screeches around the corner. Doors slide open. Men pour out. Not Thai police. Not FBI. Private security. Ouroboros. Webb draws her weapon, but there are too many of them. They swarm. Ara feels hands on her arms, her shoulders, someone covering her mouth before she can scream. She fights, kicks, connects with someone's knee and hears them grunt. But there are 4 of them, and one of her. And they're professionals, and she's being dragged into the van. The last thing she sees before the door slams shut is Agent Webb on the ground with a gun to her head and the burning wreckage of the SUV lighting up the Bangkok night like a funeral pyre. Then darkness, and movement, and the horrifying certainty that she just made a terrible, fatal mistake. Consciousness returns in fragments. The smell first, industrial cleaner and rust and something organic rotting in corners, nobody cleans. Then sound, distant traffic, the hum of air conditioning, voices speaking in languages she doesn't understand. Then pain, her wrists bound behind her back, plastic zip ties cutting circulation, her shoulders screaming from the angle they've been locked in. Ara opens her eyes. She's in a warehouse, empty except for steel support beams and water-stained concrete, and the kind of darkness that only exists in places where bad things happen and nobody hears the screaming. A single work light hangs above her, painting everything in harsh yellow. 3 men stand in the shadows watching her, not the ones from the van. Different, older. The kind who don't do the grabbing themselves because they pay people to do it for them. One of them steps forward into the light. Park Ji-hoon looks exactly the same as he did in Seoul. Expensive suit, calm face, eyes like a reptile calculating whether something is food or threat. Mrs. Cross, welcome back. Ara's voice comes out raw. Where's Agent Webb? Safe. We let her go. She's currently organizing a federal manhunt for you across Bangkok while you sit here approximately 600 meters from where she's searching. Park pulls up a metal chair, sits. The beauty of chaos, Mrs. Cross, is that everyone assumes the worst. Agent Webb thinks you're dead or halfway to Myanmar by now. She'll waste days searching for a body that isn't there. You can't keep me here forever. I don't need forever. I just need tonight. He leans forward. Your husband is in custody. You gave the FBI everything they needed to indict half our leadership. You destroyed operational security we spent decades building. And now I need to understand exactly how much damage you've done so I know how to contain it. You can't contain it. It's already over. The evidence is circumstantial at best. 30-year-old financial records and surveillance footage that proves Adrian Cross was running a criminal network, but doesn't prove Ouroboros itself exists in any legal sense. Park's expression doesn't change. We're not a company, Mrs. Cross. We're not incorporated.
We don't have offices or employees or tax returns. We're a network of individuals conducting business according to certain principles, and networks are very difficult to prosecute.
Then why am I here?
Because you know names. You met people. You saw faces. And I need to know exactly what you told the FBI before I decide whether you're more valuable alive or dead. The zip ties are cutting deep enough that her hands are going numb. Ara focuses on breathing, on staying conscious, on not giving him the satisfaction of seeing her afraid. I told them everything. Everything you know, which isn't as much as you think. Park stands, walks a slow circle around her chair. You met me. You met Minjun. You met Diana Chen. 3 people out of an organization that spans 40 countries and employs thousands. You saw a fragment of the machine, and now you think you understand how it works. I understand enough. Do you? He stops behind her. She can't see him, but she can feel his presence like cold air. Tell me, did Agent Webb explain why Ouroboros exists, what function we serve, or did she just tell you we're criminals who need to be stopped? You launder money, you facilitate crime, you killed my father. Your father stole money and died running from consequences. We didn't kill him, his own choices did. Park moves back into view. But yes, we move capital. We connect people who need services with people who provide them. We operate in the gray spaces between legal and illegal, where governments can't or won't act. And occasionally, when someone threatens that system, we eliminate the threat. Like you're going to eliminate me, maybe. Or maybe I'm going to offer you a choice. He crouches down to her eye level. The FBI has evidence, but evidence requires witnesses, testimony, someone willing to stand in front of a jury and explain what everything means. Without you, those files are just files, interesting, but ultimately useless. Ara's heart is pounding, but she keeps her face blank. What kind of choice? Walk away. Right now. Tonight. We release you. You tell the FBI you escaped. You give them a story about being held by low-level contractors who panicked and let you go. You testify to what you know, which is very little, and then you disappear into witness protection and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. He pauses. Or you refuse. You insist on maximum cooperation. You become the star witness the FBI needs, and in that case, his voice drops. In that case, you become more trouble than you're worth, and we eliminate you before trial. Make it look like suicide. Grieving widow couldn't handle the pressure. Tragic, but predictable. You're giving me the choice between running and dying. I'm giving you the choice between surviving and pretending you won. Most people would take survival. Ara thinks about her mother in that nursing home, about 30 years of survival that wasn't really living, about the letter that said, "Finish what your father started," and the promise she made standing in that Singapore bank. No, she says. Park stands. No? No, I'm not walking away. No, I'm not making it easy for you. No, you don't get to decide how this ends. Her voice is steady despite the pain in her shoulders and the fear crawling up her spine. You want to kill me? Do it, but you're going to have to live with the consequences. What consequences? You'll be dead. And the FBI will know you did it. And Agent Webb will spend the rest of her career hunting everyone connected to Ouroboros. And every name in those files will become a target. You think you can control the chaos once I'm gone? You think you can put this back in the box? She leans forward as much as the zip ties allow. You can't. You already lost. You just don't know it yet. Park studies her for a long time. You really believe that? Yes. Even though you're tied to a chair in a warehouse with no witnesses and no rescue coming. Especially because of that. Because if you were really in control, you wouldn't need to explain yourself to me. You'd just kill me and move on. Ara holds his gaze. But you can't. Because somewhere in your calculations, you've realized that killing me makes things worse. That I'm more dangerous dead than alive. And that terrifies you. The silence that follows is very long. One of the other men in the shadows says something in Korean. Park responds without looking away from Ara. The man argues. Park cuts him off with a single word. My associate thinks you're bluffing, Park says. That you're trying to buy time until Agent Webb finds you. Are you bluffing, Mrs. Cross? Only one way to find out.
Park almost smiles. You've changed since Seoul. The woman I met in the Rose Room would never have spoken to me like this. The woman you met in the Rose Room is dead. You killed her when you used her as bait. This is who's left. And who is that? Ada thinks about the question, about waking up alone in that hotel room, about every choice since then, about the woman she was and the woman she's becoming. Someone who stopped being afraid, she says finally.
Park nods slowly, turns to the men in the shadows, speaks in rapid Korean. One of them steps forward, Minjun. She recognizes his silhouette, even in the darkness. Cut her loose, Park says in English. Minjun hesitates. We're just letting her go? We're recognizing reality. Mrs. Cross is correct. She's more useful alive than dead. Dead, she becomes a martyr. The FBI rallies around her memory. Every journalist in Asia starts asking questions. We spend years putting out fires. Park looks at Aura. Alive, she's just another witness, one among many. Her testimony matters, but it's not decisive. We can work with that. Minjun cuts the zip ties. Blood rushes back into Aura's hands and the pain is exquisite. She forces herself not to cry out. Stand up, Park says. She stands. Her legs shake, but they hold. Park walks to the warehouse entrance, opens the door. Bangkok night spills in, lights and heat, and the sound of a city that never stops moving. There's a phone booth 2 blocks east. Call Agent Webb. Tell her you escaped. Tell her you need immediate extraction. He pauses. And Mrs. Cross? When you testify against your husband, when you tell your story in court, remember that we're watching. Remember that Ouroboros doesn't forget. And remember that survival is a choice you have to make every single day. Aura walks toward the door, past Park, past Minjun, past the men who grabbed her off the street. She's almost outside when Park speaks again. Your father made the same choice you're making. He thought he could expose us and survive. Do you know what his last words were? Aura stops, doesn't turn around. No. Tell Allara I'm sorry. He knew he was going to die, knew we'd found him, and all he could think about was you. Park's voice is almost gentle. Don't make your mother apologize for you too. Aura steps out into the night and doesn't look back. She finds the phone booth exactly where Park said it would be, calls Webb's number with fingers that won't stop shaking. Webb answers on the first ring. Allara? Jesus Christ, where are you? I don't know. Warehouse district. They let me go. I need extraction. Stay where you are. Don't move. We're tracking the call. Background noise. People shouting. Vehicles starting. Are you hurt? No. Just come get me. We're coming. 2 minutes. Allara, listen to me. Did they tell you anything? Did Park say why they took you? Aura thinks about the choice he offered, about survival versus testimony, about her father's last words. He wanted me to know I could still walk away, she says quietly. And I said no. Webb exhales sharply. Good. That's good. We need you strong for what comes next. The arraignment is in 48 hours. We need to prep your testimony, coordinate with prosecutors, make sure... Caroline, Aura interrupts, uses her first name for the first time. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay? Can you actually protect me? After the trial, after everything, can you keep me safe from Ouroboros? The pause is too long. We'll do everything we can, Webb says finally. Witness protection, relocation, new identity. Everything standard protocol allows. That's not what I asked. Another pause. No, probably not. Ouroboros has resources we can't match and reach we can't counter. If they really want to find you, eventually they will. Webb's voice drops. But Allara, testifying is still the right thing to do. Your father tried to expose them and died before he could. Your mother spent her life afraid. You have a chance to finish what they started. Isn't that worth the risk? Aura looks up at the Bangkok sky, at the light pollution that turns everything orange, at the millions of people living their lives with no idea what happens in warehouses and safe houses and the shadow spaces between legal and illegal. I don't know, she says honestly. I really don't know. Headlights sweep around the corner, 3 SUVs moving fast. They screech to a stop and Webb jumps out before the vehicle fully stops. Are you hurt?
She's checking Ara for injuries, professional and thorough. Did they drug you? Do you need medical? I'm fine. They just talked to me. About what? Ara looks at Webb, at the woman who's been chasing Ouroboros for 5 years. Who needs this case to work? Who needs Ara to be the perfect witness? About choices, she says.
They take her to a safe house on the outskirts of Bangkok. Real one this time, Webb assures her. Vetted security, no leaks. Ara doesn't believe her, but she doesn't have anywhere else to go. Inside, federal prosecutors are waiting. 3 of them, all serious faces and manila folders, and the kind of intensity that comes from cases that can make or break careers. They walk her through it, the evidence, the testimony, what she'll need to say, and how she'll need to say it. They show her photographs of everyone involved, Park, Minjun, Diana Chen, a dozen others she's never met. They ask her to identify people, confirm conversations, provide context that turns circumstantial evidence into prosecution. She does it all. Answers every question, confirms every detail, becomes exactly the witness they need her to be. It takes 6 hours. By the time they're done, dawn is breaking over Bangkok, and Ara feels like she's been hollowed out and filled with someone else's words. You did great, Webb says when the prosecutors finally leave. This is exactly what we needed. When do I testify? Arraignment is tomorrow, then preliminary hearings, then trial, probably 3 months out. We'll keep you safe until then. After that, Webb pauses. After that, we move you into permanent protection. New name, new location, new life. Where? You can choose from several options. Midwest, usually. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere Ouroboros has limited reach. Webb sits across from her. I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you wanted your life back. But this is the price of fighting them. You survive, but you survive somewhere else. Ara thinks about the Grand Cayman account. About $4 million she can't access now because the FBI is monitoring everything. About the freedom she thought she'd won that turned out to be just another cage with different bars. What happens to Adrian? He goes to trial, faces 20+ years. We have enough evidence now with your testimony to make the charges stick. Webb leans forward. He's done, Allara. Everything he built, everything he protected, it's all coming down because of you. The words should feel like victory. They just feel empty. I want to see him, Ara says. Webb sits back. That's not... I want to see him before the trial, before everything becomes official. She stops. I need to look him in the face one more time. Why? Because I need to know if any of it was real. 12 years. There had to be something real underneath all the lies. Ara's voice is quiet. I need to know if the man I married ever actually existed or if I was just talking to a ghost the whole time. Webb looks at her for a long time. You won't like the answer. I know, but I need to hear it anyway. 24 hours later, they take her to the detention facility where Adrian is being held pending arraignment. Maximum security. Diplomatic protection because Thailand doesn't have an extradition treaty with the US and everything's complicated by jurisdiction and international law. They walk her through metal detectors and locked doors and checkpoints where guards study her face like she might be smuggling weapons in her expression. Webb stays close. 2 other agents flank them. The interview room is small and gray and smells like disinfectant. A table. 2 chairs. Cameras in the corners recording everything. Adrian is already sitting there when she walks in. He looks worse than she's ever seen him. Orange jumpsuit, unshaved, dark circles under his eyes. His hands are cuffed to the table. He looks up when she enters and something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe. Or regret. Ara. She sits. Webb and the agents wait outside the door. They're watching through the one-way glass, recording everything. This isn't private. Nothing will ever be private again. You look terrible, she says. He almost laughs. Prison doesn't agree with me. Who knew? His eyes track over her face. You look different. Harder. I am harder. Good. You'll need to be. He shifts in his chair as much as the cuffs allow. They told me you're testifying, that you gave them everything. Yes. Why? You could have walked away, taken the money, disappeared. Why risk everything to put me in prison? Ara thinks about the question, about all the answers she's rehearsed. about justice and truth and finishing what her father started. Because you asked me to trust you, she says finally. In Seoul, in Hong Kong. Every single time you asked me to trust you, and I did. Even when I shouldn't have, even when every instinct told me you were lying. She leans forward. So I want you to trust me now. I want you to sit here in this room with cameras recording everything and tell me the truth, just once, just one time in 12 years. What truth? Did you ever love me, even a little, or was it always just the job?
Adrian looks at her for a long time. His face does something complicated, shifts through expressions too fast to read. When he speaks, his voice is very quiet. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. He looks down at his cuffed hands. The first 3 years were the job, pure surveillance. I was supposed to watch you, report on you, make sure Robert Chen's daughter didn't know anything dangerous. It was easy. You were easy, predictable, safe. And then I started to forget I was pretending, started to believe my own performance. You'd do something, laugh at a joke, defend me to your friends, trust me with something vulnerable, and I'd feel... He stops. I'd feel guilty, which was stupid because I was just doing my job. But the guilt didn't care about that. So you did love me. I don't know if it was love. I don't know if I'm capable of that. He looks up, meets her eyes. But I stopped wanting to hurt you, started trying to protect you from what I was. And when Seoul happened, when I had to drug you and leave, his voice cracks. I hated myself for it. Does that count as love? I don't know. But it's the closest I've ever come. Ara feels something break open in her chest. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just the weight of knowing lifting slightly. You should have told me, she says. Back then, years ago. You should have just told me the truth. Would you have stayed? No, but at least I would have had a choice. Exactly. And I couldn't give you a choice because I was afraid you'd choose to leave. He stops, takes a breath. I didn't want you to leave, which is the most selfish thing I've ever admitted. They sit in silence. The clock on the wall ticks. The cameras record. Outside the door, Webb is probably listening to every word and cataloging it for the prosecution. What happens now? Adrian finally asks. I testify. You go to prison. Ouroboros gets exposed. Everything you spent 12 years protecting falls apart. And you? I disappear. New name, new life. Spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder waiting for them to find me. She stands. But at least it'll be my life. Not yours. Not Ouroboros's. Mine. Ara. He says her name like a plea. I really am sorry for all of it. I know that doesn't change anything. I know you'll never forgive me. But I need you to know, if I could go back, if I could do it differently. But you can't. And you wouldn't. She walks to the door, knocks. Webb opens it. Goodbye, Adrian. Wait. His voice stops her one last time. Your father, Robert Chen. You should know. He wasn't just trying to expose Ouroboros. He was trying to destroy it. Burn the entire network down. He almost succeeded. Ara turns. What? The evidence he collected, it wasn't just financial records. It was operational details. Safe houses. Extraction protocols. Names of everyone in the network. He was building a case to prosecute hundreds of people across dozens of countries. That's why they killed him. Not because he stole money, because he was dangerous. Adrian meets her eyes. You're dangerous too now, just like he was. And they're going to come for you the same way they came for him. You know that, right? I know. And you're doing it anyway. Yes. He nods slowly. Then maybe you're braver than both of us combined. She walks out without looking back. Talk. The arraignment happens in a courthouse in downtown Bangkok. With so much security, it looks like a military operation. Metal detectors. Armed guards. Protesters outside holding signs in Thai and English demanding justice or freedom depending on which side they're on. Ara testifies in closed session. Confirms identities. Verifies evidence. Answers questions from prosecutors and defense attorneys and judges who speak English with accents she sometimes struggles to understand. Adrian is there, sitting at the defense table in a suit they let him wear instead of the jumpsuit. He doesn't look at her.
Not once. Just stares straight ahead while she systematically destroys whatever defense his lawyers were planning to build. It takes 4 hours. When she's done, the judge remands Adrian to custody pending trial, sets bail at an amount nobody could possibly pay, orders him transferred to a facility in Seoul where the charges will be formally prosecuted under international law. Allara watches them take him away, watches him walk out of the courtroom in handcuffs with his expensive suit and his architect's hands and 12 years of lies hanging around his neck like a noose. He looks back once, just once, catches her eye for maybe 3 seconds, then he's gone. Outside the courthouse, Webb is coordinating with Thai authorities. Federal prosecutors are giving statements to the press. Cameras everywhere. Questions shouted in languages Allara doesn't speak.
"We need to move you," Webb says. "Get you out of Bangkok before Ouroboros regroups. There's a flight to Manila in 2 hours. From there, we'll route you to the U.S. for debriefing and formal witness protection intake." Okay, but Aura's not listening. She's watching the protesters, the signs, the chaos of people who care about things that don't affect them directly, but matter anyway because justice matters, or power matters, or truth matters, depending on who you ask.
Her phone buzzes. The new one Webb gave her after the old one was compromised. She pulls it out. Text from an unknown number. "You did well. Your father would be proud." Diana Chen. Allara deletes it, but the words stay. Another text. Different number. "This isn't over. We'll be watching." Park. She deletes that one too. A third text. No number. Just letters that appear directly on the screen like someone bypassed the entire phone network. Ouroboros never dies. It just changes shape. "See you soon." Allara powers off the phone, hands it to Webb. "I'm done. No more phones, no more messages. I'm done being accessible. We need to be able to— No. You need me safe and cooperative. That means cutting off every connection to my old life, every number, every account, everything." She takes a breath. "I want witness protection, real protection. I want to disappear so completely that even I don't know where I am." Webb studies her face. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." They put her in an SUV with blacked-out windows, drive her to the airport, walk her through a private terminal where nobody asks for ID or tickets or explanations, put her on a military transport plane heading east. Allara sits in the cargo hold surrounded by federal agents and lawyers and people whose job is keeping her alive long enough to testify against everyone who ever hurt her. She should feel safe. She doesn't, because Park was right. Ouroboros doesn't die. It just changes shape, adapts, evolves, finds new ways to survive. And somewhere in the organization, someone is already planning how to eliminate the liability named Allara Vance. The plane levels off at cruising altitude. They'll land in Manila in 3 hours. Transfer to another flight to Los Angeles. From there, somewhere in America where witnesses disappear and old identities die and new lives begin with false names and manufactured histories.
Allara closes her eyes and tries to imagine it. The house in some quiet suburb, the job at some anonymous office, the carefully constructed normalcy that's supposed to feel like freedom but will probably just feel like another cage with cleaner bars. She thinks about her mother in that nursing home, about 30 years of running, about whether survival is enough when you've lost everything that made you who you were. The answer, she realizes, is no. Survival is not enough, but it's a start. But, yeah.
6 months later, Allara stands on a beach in Vietnam watching the sun set over the South China Sea. She's not supposed to be here. Witness protection had her in Des Moines under a name she still doesn't respond to. Working at an insurance company. Living in an apartment that smells like carpet cleaner and loneliness. Waiting for Adrian's trial to start so she could testify and finally close this chapter of her life. But 3 weeks ago, something shifted. The trial got delayed. Jurisdictional issues. Appeals. The kind of legal maneuvering that means justice delayed is justice denied and everyone knows it. And Allara realized she couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't sit in Des Moines pretending to be someone else while her real life rotted in storage somewhere. Couldn't keep looking over her shoulder waiting for Ouroboros to find her. So she left. Called Webb. Told her she was done with protection. Done with false names. Done with hiding. Webb tried to talk her out of it. Explained the risks. The dangers. How Ouroboros would find her eventually if she surfaced. "Let them find me," Allara said. "I'm tired of being afraid." She withdrew the money from the Grand Cayman account. The $4 million Park gave her that the FBI never managed to freeze. Bought a small house on the Vietnamese coast with cash. No mortgage, no paper trail. Just a deed in a name that's legally hers but sounds nothing like Allara Vance or Mrs. Cross or any of the other identities she's worn like costumes. She writes now. The story of what happened, all of it, Seoul to Hong Kong to Bangkok, every lie, every betrayal, every moment she thought she was going to die. Literary agents started calling after the first chapter leaked online, publishers bidding against each other, people who want to turn her trauma into profit and call it justice. She's not sure yet if she'll let them, but she's writing it anyway, because her mother never got to tell her story, her father never got to expose what he found. And Aura refuses to let their silence be the ending. The sun touches the horizon, turns the ocean gold. She's barefoot in the sand, hair pulled back, wearing clothes she chose herself for no reason except she liked them. For the first time in 12 years, she's alone by choice rather than abandonment. It feels like freedom. Her phone rings. The new one. The one she bought herself with a Vietnamese SIM card that probably won't stop Ouroboros if they're really looking, but at least gives her the illusion of control. Unknown number. She almost doesn't answer, but she does. Mrs. Cross, Agent Webb's voice. I'm calling to let you know the trial started yesterday. Your husband pleaded guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. 22 years. No parole for at least 15. Aura feels something shift in her chest. Not quite relief. Not quite victory. Why did he plead? His lawyer saw the evidence, saw your testimony, realized they couldn't win. He's going to prison, Allara. It's over. Is it? Silence on the line. Ouroboros leadership is in disarray, Webb says finally. Park Ji-hoon negotiated a deal with Korean authorities, testimony against the organization in exchange for reduced charges. Diana Chen disappeared. Half the network is cooperating, the other half is running. We're rolling up operations across Southeast Asia. She pauses. It's the biggest organized crime takedown in decades. And it happened because you refused to stay quiet. Aura thinks about her father, about the safety deposit box, about the letter that said finish what he started. What about the people at the top? The ones Park said I'd never touch? Still working on that, but we have leads now, names, financial trails. It'll take years to unravel all of it, but Webb's voice softens. But you did it, Allara. You won. The sun is halfway below the horizon now. The sky is bleeding red and orange and purple. Aura watches it and thinks about winning. I didn't win, she says quietly. I just survived. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Winning means you get what you wanted. Surviving means you get to keep trying. She digs her toes into the sand, feels the warm grains shift beneath her weight. I wanted my life back, my husband, my home. I wanted everything to be like it was before Seoul. And now? Now I know that was never possible. That version of my life was built on lies. It wasn't real. So getting it back would just mean getting back in the cage. She watches the sun disappear, watches the first stars appear. This is better. Harder, but better. Are you safe? Webb asks. Do you need... I'm as safe as I'm going to be. And I don't need anything except to be left alone. Aura pauses. Thank you. For everything. For believing me. For protecting me. For giving me a chance to fight back. You protected yourself. I just provided the paperwork. Webb takes a breath. If you ever need anything, if Ouroboros comes after you, if you're in danger, call me. Anytime. I mean that. I know. They say goodbye. The line goes dead. Aura stands alone on the beach while the last light bleeds from the sky and the ocean turns black beneath the stars. She thinks about Adrian in a Korean prison, about Park Ji-hoon testifying against his own organization, about Diana Chen somewhere in the world with a new name and a new face, doing the same things she's always done just under different cover. She thinks about her mother dying alone, about her father murdered for knowing too much, about 12 years of marriage that was really just surveillance. And she thinks about standing here, about the house she bought with blood money, about the story she's writing, about the woman she's become. She's not the person who woke up in Seoul 6 months ago. That woman died in that hotel room, died in the Rose Room, died in Hong Kong and Bangkok, and every moment between. This woman is harder, scarred, morally complicated in ways the old Ara would have found horrifying. But she's alive, and she's free. And maybe that's not winning, but maybe it's enough. The tide comes in. Cold water washes over her feet. She doesn't move, just stands there, feeling the ocean pull at the sand beneath her, feeling the way the earth shifts when you stop trying to control it. Tomorrow she'll write more of the story. Publishers will call. Lawyers will argue about NDAs and libel, and what truths are safe to tell. Life will keep happening whether she's ready or not. But tonight she just stands on this beach under these stars with the South China Sea at her feet and the weight of everything that happened slowly lifting from her shoulders. She survived. That's not nothing. That's not nothing at all. Far out on the horizon, a ship's lights move across the black water, going somewhere, coming from somewhere, carrying cargo or people or secrets that will never be spoken aloud. The world keeps turning. Crimes keep happening. Organizations like Ouroboros keep finding ways to survive and adapt and continue. But they don't have her anymore. They don't own her fear. And that, Ara decides, watching the ship disappear into distance, that is what winning actually looks like. Not the absence of danger, not perfect justice, not revenge, just the hard-earned right to stand here, in this place, in this moment, with her own name and her own choices and her own carefully constructed future that belongs to nobody except her. The ocean breathes against the shore. The stars wheel overhead. Time moves forward because that's all time knows how to do. And Allara Vance, survivor witness, daughter of Robert Chen, and inheritor of all his unfinished wars, finally allows herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she's going to be okay. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. And someday is enough to keep moving forward. She turns from the ocean, walks back toward the house with its warm lights and its simple furniture and its complete absence of history. Inside, her laptop is open to the document where she's been writing everything down. The cursor blinks on a blank page, waiting for whatever comes next. She sits, stares at the emptiness, thinks about how to end a story that doesn't really have an ending, how to give readers closure when her own life is still wide open and uncertain. Then she starts typing. This is what survival looks like. It looks like a woman on a beach, alone but not lonely, scarred but not broken, afraid but not paralyzed. It looks like choosing to stand up every morning even when the world has given you every reason to stay down. It looks like taking blood money from criminals and using it to build something clean. It looks like understanding that justice and revenge are not the same thing, but sometimes they arrive at the same destination through different roads. It looks like knowing you'll never be completely safe, but refusing to let that fear define you. It looks like me, writing this. 6 months after I woke up in Seoul and found out my entire life was a lie. It looks like survival, and sometimes, when the light is right and I'm not thinking too hard about everything I've lost, it almost looks like hope. She saves the document, closes the laptop, turns off the lights. Outside, the ocean keeps breathing. The stars keep turning. The world keeps spinning through its endless dance of creation and destruction and everything in between. And somewhere in that vast machinery, Allara Vance, who was once Ara Cross, who was once someone's daughter and someone's wife and someone's mission, has finally found the one thing she spent 12 years searching for. Not love, not safety, not answers, just the space to become whoever she decides to be next. And in that space, in that freedom, in that hard-earned autonomy, that's where the story ends. Not with triumph, not with tragedy, just with a woman standing in a doorway watching the night settle over the ocean and thinking about tomorrow. Just with survival, which is, in the end, the only victory that really matters.